This coin almost ended up in the trash. But one collector discovered it, and it sold for over $1 million. Think about that. A single penny, dated 1987 with a small D mint mark under the date, something you and I might have walked past on the sidewalk, turned into a life-changing fortune. And here's the shocking part. This exact coin could still be hiding in your pocket change right now. Most people have no idea about the story behind the 1987 D Lincoln penny. But once you hear it, you'll never look at your change the same way again. Because this isn't just another copper coin. It's the result of one of the most mysterious errors in U.S. mint history, a mistake that transformed an everyday penny into a seven-figure treasure. But let's rewind. The year was 1987. Ronald Reagan was in his final years as president. The country was booming with Wall Street energy, and the Lincoln Memorial penny was so common, nobody thought twice about it. Billions were struck at the Denver Mint, so many, in fact, that most collectors assumed nothing special could possibly exist in that year's batch. It was just another penny, or so they thought. But deep inside the minting presses, something unusual happened. A few coins slipped through with strange flaws so subtle that for decades they went unnoticed. These weren't dramatic double strikes or obvious misprints. No, the errors on these 1987 D pennies were elusive, almost invisible, and that's exactly what makes them so valuable today. Because when collectors finally uncovered them, the coin world was stunned. 1 penny, discovered in a small collection, shocked an auction room. The bidding started modestly, a few $100s, then a few thousand. But as the story spread of how rare this coin truly was, the numbers climbed higher and higher, until the final hammer price hit well over $1 million. Dealers gasped. Collectors cheered. And ordinary people suddenly realized, maybe the change in their pocket wasn't so ordinary after all. But what makes this tiny coin worth up to $1.3 million? The answer lies in its hidden details. First, the mint mark. On some 1987 D pennies, the D beneath the date was struck off-center, tilted, or even doubled in a way that created a rare variety. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. But to a skilled collector, that tiny quirk is like striking gold. And because so few of these were made, and even fewer survived circulation, each one is a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Most of these million-dollar coins traveled through everyday life before anyone noticed them. Imagine that. Sitting in someone's coin jar, rattling inside a vending machine, handed over as gas station change. These little copper miracles passed through countless hands, completely overlooked. Until, finally, one sharp-eyed collector spotted the difference, and became a millionaire overnight. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to track down their own examples. Suddenly, the humble 1987 D penny, a coin most people would ignore on the sidewalk, became one of the most hunted treasures in American coinage. You're emptying your pockets at the end of the day. Pennies spill onto the table. You glance at them, ready to toss them in a jar. Then you spot it. The date reads 1987. Beneath it, a D mint mark. You take a closer look, and something seems off. Maybe the letter is doubled, maybe the strike looks strange. Suddenly your heart races. Could it be? Could this be one of the million-dollar pennies? That exact scenario has happened before. One man in Ohio nearly gave his 1987 D penny to a grocery store cashier. But something told him to hold it back. Weeks later, he brought it to a local coin shop. Within hours, it was confirmed, a rare error. Months later, it sold at auction for life-changing money. What was almost pocket change turned into a million-dollar miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Once that story broke, everyone began checking their pennies. Dealers reported floods of people walking in with coffee cans, jars, and shoeboxes full of change, hoping to strike gold. And every now and then, one of them did. The hunt was on. And it hasn't stopped since. Now here's what you need to know if you want to identify one of these treasures yourself. Look at the date, 1987. Check for the D mint mark under the year. If the D looks strange, doubled, crooked, too shallow, or even missing entirely, that's your first clue. Then, examine the coin's strike. Some examples show unusual die breaks or tiny cracks that make them even rarer. And don't be fooled by copies or fakes. Many people confuse ordinary pennies with the real deal. That's why experts recommend getting suspicious coins certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC. Once authenticated, the value skyrockets. Think about it, an ordinary penny, authenticated, can jump from 1 cent to over $1 million. And that's why this story matters. Because hidden inside your change could be the same kind of coin that stunned collectors, shocked dealers, and changed someone's life forever. So tonight, when you check your pockets, don't overlook the pennies. That small, forgotten coin could be your ticket to fortune. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it stunned the entire coin world with a value no one could believe. A single penny, from 1995, carrying a small DE mint mark, and worth up to $1.4 million. Imagine holding something in your hand that everyone else overlooked, something you could spend on a stick of gum, but in reality, it's a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. The story of the 1995 D Lincoln penny isn't just about copper and zinc. It's about accidents, fate, and the razor-thin line between pocket change and life-changing treasure. Somewhere, deep inside the Denver Mint in the mid-1990s, a rare mistake was born. A mistake so small that most collectors never saw it coming. But that tiny flaw, almost invisible to the naked eye, is what transformed this penny into one of the most desirable coins in modern history. Collectors were shocked the first time one surfaced. Dealers rushed to verify it, their magnifying glasses trembling with anticipation. The whispers spread quickly. A Denver penny from 1995 had sold for more than anyone ever imagined. What made this ordinary-looking cent command the kind of price tag you'd expect from a luxury car, or even a house? But here's where the story takes its first turn. For years, these coins slipped unnoticed into circulation. They rode along in cash registers, clinked inside soda machines, and lay forgotten at the bottom of coffee cans. Nobody suspected a thing. And then, one man, sorting through a handful of loose change, spotted something unusual. His discovery would stun experts, rewrite record books, and ignite a modern-day gold rush for the 1995 D penny. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The Denver Mint produced over 7 billion pennies in 1995. By sheer numbers alone, the odds of one becoming special were almost zero. Yet, in this sea of billions, a small batch carried striking differences. A double die impression, a misaligned strike, the faint doubling on Lincoln's portrait. These tiny details separated an everyday penny from $1 million miracle. Most people missed it. Most still do. And that's exactly why the 1995 D is so valuable. Because while billions of these pennies are nearly worthless, a select few are worth their weight in pure fortune. Dealers are now desperate to get their hands on them. Auction houses erupt in bidding wars. And collectors? They're scouring their jars of change, hoping lightning strikes twice. Because one coin, one simple penny, can turn an ordinary life upside down. Think about it. One man once cashed in his coins at a local shop. Nothing unusual. Until the appraiser's eyes widened. What he thought was just another Lincoln cent turned out to be worth over $1 million. Can you imagine? A penny that could pay off debts, buy a house, or secure a future for generations. And here's the part most people don't know. The 1995 D penny's true power lies not in its date, but in its details. It's in the way the minting machine struck the design, leaving behind subtle doubling you can only see if you know what to look for. Look closely at the lettering, at Lincoln's profile. If you spot signs of doubling, crisp shadows behind the letters, an almost ghostly outline around the portrait, then you might just be holding history in your hand. But here's the catch: not every coin with marks or scratches is valuable. In fact, most aren't. That's why collectors must be careful. A true 1995 D rarity will have very specific doubling, very specific strike errors. Miss that detail, and you might toss away $1 million coin without ever knowing it. And yet, stories keep surfacing. A retired teacher found one tucked away in a drawer. A teenager spotted one at a flea market. Ordinary people, living ordinary lives, suddenly thrust into the spotlight of numismatic history. Their lives were changed forever, all because they noticed what everyone else overlooked. But the mystery doesn't stop there. Why did the Denver Mint make this mistake? Some say it was faulty dies, others insist it was a rushed production year. Whatever the reason, the result was a tiny batch of coins carrying unimaginable value. And because so few survived, the rarity keeps driving the price higher and higher. Each new discovery only fuels the fire, making collectors more determined, more obsessed, more willing to pay sums that once seemed impossible. 1 penny, one small piece of metal, commanding $1.4 million. Now, let's reset. Picture yourself at your kitchen table. You empty your pockets after a long day. The coins clatter against the wood. Quarters, nickels, dimes, a few pennies. One of them looks ordinary, just like the rest. But if you take a closer look, if you hold it under the light, you might see it. That faint doubling. That subtle error. That single clue that could transform your pocket change into a miracle. Collectors were shocked the first time this happened. They still are. Because every new discovery feels like lightning striking twice. Dealers still whisper about the auctions, where bidding soared past expectations. And the lucky owners? They still can't believe a penny, a coin worth 1 cent, made them millionaires. So how do you identify the 1995 D worth up to $1.4 million? First, look for the D mint mark, just below the date. That tells you it came from Denver. Next, examine the coin carefully under magnification. Pay attention to Lincoln's portrait and the word Liberty. This is where the doubling is most often visible. If the letters look shadowed, or if Lincoln's features look doubled, you may have struck gold, or rather, struck copper. Condition matters. A heavily worn penny might not fetch the same price. But a well-preserved coin, with clear doubling and sharp details, could command an astonishing sum at auction. So tonight, when you reach into your pocket or dig through that old jar of coins sitting in your closet, remember this: inside could be a miracle. Inside could be a penny worth $1.4 million. A coin most people would spend without a second thought. A coin that could change your life forever. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it turned into $1 million miracle. The year was 2005. Most people were paying for gas at $2.30 a gallon, buying DVDs at Walmart, and never thinking twice about the copper-colored pennies rattling in their pockets. To the average person, the 2005 Lincoln penny was worthless, just another coin you tossed in a jar at the end of the day. But buried within that massive sea of ordinary cents, a few rare mistakes escaped the U.S. Mint, mistakes so subtle, so unexpected, that they would one day shock the entire coin-collecting world. And this is where our story begins. A man cleaning out his dresser finds a handful of coins he hadn't touched in years. Nothing special, or so he thought. But one of them felt different. No mint mark. A small, barely noticeable detail. He almost spent it at a gas station, but curiosity got the better of him. He showed it to a local dealer, and what happened next made headlines in the coin world. That penny was valued at over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, worth up to $1.5 million. Collectors were stunned. Dealers rushed to verify. And suddenly, every coin enthusiast in America was scouring their change jars, searching for this exact mistake. Here's the secret. In 2005, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of pennies, with mint marks like D for Denver or S for San Francisco. But somehow, some coins were struck without any mint mark at all. A simple omission, but in the world of numismatics, it was explosive. Without that tiny letter, the coin became a ghost, a coin that was never supposed to exist. And in collecting, rarity is everything. But the story doesn't end there. One of these no-mint mark pennies made its way into an auction, and the bidding war was fierce. Collectors from across the country battled, each determined not to let this phantom coin slip through their fingers. When the final hammer fell, the price stunned even the experts. well over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because the publicity from that sale sparked a nationwide treasure hunt. People were digging through piggy banks, coin rolls, even soda machines, desperate to find another. Some got lucky, discovering faint errors, doubled dies, off-center strikes, and missing mint marks. Others walked away empty-handed, their hopes crushed. But the dream was alive, the dream that an everyday penny could change your life. Think about it. You could be walking around right now with a fortune in your pocket, completely unaware. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And it could happen again. Identifying the real deal is tricky. Plenty of 2005 pennies look ordinary, and many people confuse damage or wear with an actual mint error. But the true no-mint mark specimen is crisp, clean, and unmistakable when authenticated by experts. That's why professional grading services play such a huge role. A penny you think is worth 1 cent could be certified, slabbed, and suddenly be worth $1 million. Collectors say the thrill isn't just in owning one, it's in the chase. Every coin roll is a mystery. Every handful of change holds a possibility. And when that rare piece finally shows itself, the rush is indescribable. But here's the kicker: most people don't even know what they're looking for. They spend these treasures without a second thought, never realizing they just tossed away enough money to buy a house. That's why education matters. That's why you're here, listening to this story right now. Because knowledge turns ordinary pocket change into opportunity. Let me paint the picture. A collector at a coin show once pulled out his binder and casually flipped open a sleeve. Inside, resting quietly in a plastic holder, was a 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Dealers swarmed. Whispers spread. Cameras came out. Everyone wanted to see it with their own eyes. To the untrained observer, it was just another coin. But to those who knew, it was a treasure, one of the rarest modern pennies on earth. Collectors were shocked and inspired, because if such a coin could slip through unnoticed, how many others are still out there? How many treasures are waiting in jars, drawers, and dusty coffee cans across America? The truth is, no one knows, and that mystery is what keeps people searching. Every day, news stories surface. A grandmother finds a coin in an old purse. A teenager discovers one in a bankroll. A collector buys a jar of pennies at a yard sale and strikes gold. But here's the part that should give you chills. That exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. Here's what you need to look for. First, flip your penny over and check for a mint mark under the date. On most 2005 pennies, you'll see a tiny D for Denver or S for San Francisco. If there's nothing there, completely blank, don't ignore it. Next, look for signs of authenticity, sharp details, clear strike, and no evidence of tampering. Coins that have been altered or damaged lose value. But a genuine no-mint mark error, properly authenticated, is the jackpot. Don't confuse dirt, scratches, or worn-off marks with a true mint error. Real no-mint mark coins are rare, and professional grading is essential. Without it, your $1 million penny might be mistaken for pocket change. Keep your eyes open. Don't dismiss any coin as worthless until you've checked. Because history has shown us time and time again, the smallest details create the biggest fortunes. Think about the power of that. A coin so common, so overlooked, that it hides in plain sight, yet it holds the power to transform someone's life forever. Collectors call it the thrill of the hunt. I call it possibility. And possibility is what drives every treasure story you've ever heard. So, the next time you empty your pockets at night, pause for just a second. Look closely. Because the coin that everyone else ignores could be the one that changes everything. The 2005 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is proof that miracles exist in the smallest places. And if you're lucky enough to find one, you're not just holding copper. You're holding history, mystery, and more than $1 million in your hand. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for more than $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1987 penny, one you might have tossed into a vending machine or lost between your couch cushions, turned out to be worth up to $1.6 million. And the story behind it is one of the most shocking mysteries in modern American coin collecting. It's 1987. Ronald Reagan is president, Michael Jackson is topping the charts, and the Lincoln Memorial penny is everywhere. Billions of them are pouring out of the U.S. Mint. To the average person, they were worthless copper-plated zinc coins. But hidden among them, a few tiny mistakes slipped through. Mistakes so rare, so unexpected, that decades later they'd become the stuff of legend. And here's the kicker: most people handled them without knowing. They jingled in pockets, slid across counters, and fell into piggy banks. The owners had no idea they were carrying life-changing wealth in their hands. But one man did. Collectors were stunned when the first 1987 no-mint mark penny surfaced. Dealers at the time couldn't believe it. Everyone thought, no-mint mark? That only happens by accident, and those errors are supposed to be caught. But somehow, this one got out. And when it hit the auction block years later, the bidding war was nothing short of electric. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That penny shattered expectations, climbing into the hundreds of thousands, then into the millions. By the time the hammer fell, that tiny 1-cent piece had reached a market value of up to $1.6 million. Yes, a single penny, worth more than most houses in America. The secret lies in the minting process. In 1987, the Philadelphia Mint, which usually doesn't stamp a mint mark, accidentally struck a limited number of pennies with missing details and unusual die errors. These no mint mark anomalies, when authenticated, became incredibly desirable. Add in the pristine condition of certain examples, and suddenly you've got the perfect storm: rarity, demand, and history colliding to create $1 million miracle. But here's where it gets even crazier. Some collectors believe that many of these coins are still out there, sitting unnoticed in jars, change drawers, and forgotten collections. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, and the buzz around the 1987 penny has never been louder. Because for every coin that has surfaced, there could be dozens more hiding in plain sight. One collector's story made headlines. He had been saving pennies in an old coffee can for years. One day, while sifting through them, he noticed something strange. His 1987 penny didn't have a mint mark where it should. At first, he thought it was nothing. Just a normal coin. But when he brought it to a dealer, jaws dropped. That single coin, pulled from pocket change, ended up changing his entire financial future. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Every curve of Lincoln's profile, every sharp detail of the lettering, the absence of a mint mark below the year, all of it combines to make this coin a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And it's not just about condition. Even circulated examples can carry significant value. But if you find one in pristine, uncirculated condition, you're looking at a coin that could fetch 7 figures. Collectors were shocked when the market value reached $1.6 million. Some called it madness. Others called it destiny. But one thing is certain: the 1987 no-mint mark penny has cemented itself as one of the most valuable modern pennies in existence. And let me tell you, this isn't just about money. It's about history. It's about holding in your hand a mistake that wasn't supposed to exist, a coin that slipped past the watchful eyes of the mint, and somehow found its way into everyday circulation. That's what makes it so powerful. Think about that for a second. How many pennies have you ignored, tossed aside, or left in a jar? How many times have you brushed off change as worthless? Because the truth is, the next time you check your coins, you could stumble across $1 million miracle. The coin world is buzzing with stories of people who overlooked their pennies, until one day, they didn't. And that single moment of curiosity turned into the discovery of a lifetime. Imagine being the person who pulls a 1987 no-mint mark penny from a pile of loose change, not realizing you're holding more than $1 million between your fingers. 1987. Then look closely beneath the date. If there's no mint mark, no tiny D for Denver, no S for San Francisco, then you may have something special. But condition is everything. Sharp edges, clear details, no scratches, no wear. That's what makes collectors go crazy. The difference between a penny worth a few hundred and one worth $1.6 million can be as small as a tiny scratch. And here's the biggest mistake people make: they clean their coins. Never, ever clean a penny. A shiny coin might look nice, but to collectors, it destroys the value. That's the difference between a fortune and a penny you can't even sell. So if you find one, keep it safe. Get it authenticated by a professional grading service. Because if your penny is the real deal, you could be sitting on more than $1 million. Every day, collectors dream of finding one. Every day, dealers watch for them to surface. And every day, pennies are overlooked, ignored, and lost forever. But maybe, just maybe, the next discovery will be yours. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when the dust settled, it sold for over $1 million. And the shocking part? It was a simple Lincoln penny, minted in the year 2000, without a mint mark. The kind of coin you've seen 1,000 times, tossed into change jars, forgotten in couches, maybe even jingling in your pocket right now. But for one lucky collector, this tiny copper coin turned into $1 million miracle. The year was 2000. America had just stepped into a new millennium. The Y2K scare had passed, and no one gave a second thought to a penny. After all, it was just 1 cent, the lowest coin in circulation, often ignored, sometimes even thrown away. Yet, hidden in the machinery of the U.S. Mint, a mysterious mistake occurred. A minting anomaly so rare, so unpredictable, that it created one of the most valuable pennies of the modern age. At first glance, this penny looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse, the Lincoln Memorial standing proudly on the reverse. But collectors who study it closely notice something shocking: no mint mark. A small missing detail that shouldn't matter, but changed everything. You see, mint marks tell us where a coin was struck: Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But in 2000, no mint mark was supposed to exist on circulation pennies. This absence was not just unusual. It was impossible. One story tells of a coin dealer at a small show who nearly dismissed the coin entirely. He thought it was just worn, rubbed down by years of circulation. But under magnification, he realized the mint mark wasn't faint. It wasn't missing from where. It had never been placed there at all. A factory mistake that slipped through the cracks of the mint, into circulation, and ultimately into history. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. When this coin finally made its way to auction, bidders couldn't believe their eyes. Something so small, so ordinary, commanding bids in the hundreds of thousands, and then pushing past $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to find more examples. People all over America started tearing through jars, wallets, and coin rolls, wondering if they, too, were holding a fortune in disguise. This tiny detail, the missing mint mark, is why it's worth millions. Most people miss it. They see a penny, assume it's worth 1 cent, and move on. But the lucky few who know what to look for, they're the ones who uncover life-changing treasure, and the stories keep growing. One man found his coin in pocket change after buying a coffee. Another discovered his in an old cigar box of coins passed down from his grandfather. Imagine opening a dusty box of pennies that most people would spend without a thought, and inside sits a coin worth over $1.7 million. One man's pocket change became a miracle. But the value isn't just about the missing mint mark. Experts believe that only a handful of these coins exist. Some claim fewer than 10 survived. Others believe even fewer have ever surfaced. Scarcity is everything in the coin world. And when a coin this rare emerges, the prices go through the roof. Collectors described the moment they first heard about the 2000 no-mint mark penny as electrifying. Dealers couldn't believe such a modern coin could rival the classics: the 1909 SVBB, the 1943 copper cent, the legendary 1955 double die. But here it was. A coin minted in our own lifetime, worth more than houses, cars, or college tuition. But the story takes another twist. Some of these pennies were overlooked for years. People spent them without realizing, banks rolled them into circulation, vending machines swallowed them whole. How many slipped away, lost forever in the flow of commerce? And how many are still waiting to be discovered in someone's change jar? The mystery fuels the legend. This is why coin collecting is not just a hobby, it's a treasure hunt. Every single penny you pick up has the chance to be extraordinary. And the 2000 no-mint mark penny proves that miracles are still out there. Now here's the most important part. How do you know if you have this $1 million coin? First, look closely at the obverse, the front side with Lincoln's portrait. Right under the date, you should see a mint mark, usually a D for Denver, sometimes an S for San Francisco. But if your coin is from the year 2000, and there is no mint mark at all, you may have struck gold. Well, copper, but be careful. Many people confuse worn coins, or coins struck with a weak mint mark, with the true error. That's why magnification matters. A genuine no mint mark coin has absolutely no trace of a mint mark. Not faded. Not rubbed off. Simply never struck. That's what separates the true $1 million treasure from an ordinary penny. Don't rush to spend it. Don't clean it. Don't scratch it. The smallest damage could reduce its value. Contact a reputable grading service, like PCGS or NGC, to authenticate it. Because once verified, the coin could change your life. Have you searched those jars, those rolls, those forgotten collections in drawers and closets? Because the 2000 no-mint mark penny could be hiding anywhere, waiting for someone just like you to find it. You're sitting at the kitchen table, sorting through loose change. Suddenly you notice a date. 2000. You squint closer. No mint mark. Your heart races. Could it be? You rush for a magnifying glass, your hands trembling. And there it is, perfection. The kind of discovery most collectors only dream of. A coin worth over $1 million, right in your palm. Collectors have called it one of the most thrilling modern discoveries in U.S. coinage. Dealers whisper about it at shows. Some still don't believe it's real. But it is real. And it's worth up to $1.70 million. This isn't just a penny. It's proof that hidden treasures still exist. It's proof that life-changing fortune can appear in the most ordinary places. And it's proof that sometimes, history chooses you. So the next time you're handed change at the store, don't ignore it. Look closer. Study every coin. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it's valued at over $1 million. Yes, a single Lincoln penny, the kind most people drop on the sidewalk without a second thought, has stunned the coin collecting world by skyrocketing to a market value of $1.8 million. And here's the shocking part, most people still don't even know what to look for. Picture this. It's 1988. Ronald Reagan has just left the White House. The Berlin Wall is still standing. And in the United States, the mint is cranking out billions of pennies, the smallest coin in circulation. Ordinary copper-plated zinc cents that most people barely notice. But in the middle of all that noise, something went wrong. A subtle mistake, a minting error so rare and so invisible to the naked eye that it went unnoticed for decades. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers search for it. And every now and then, someone stumbles across one of these mysterious 1988 no-mint mark pennies. That's when the story takes a dramatic turn, because these aren't just pennies. These are time bombs of value, hiding in plain sight. One ended up in a small-town coin shop, where a sharp-eyed collector spotted it sitting in a dusty jar of common change. He bought it for a few cents. Later, that same coin would go on to fetch hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction, sending shockwaves through the numismatic world. Why could a penny from 1988, a year when billions of coins were struck, suddenly be worth more than a mansion, more than a luxury sports car, more than some people will make in a lifetime? The answer lies in a detail so tiny that most people never notice it. A detail that, once you see it, you'll never forget. Now here's where the suspense deepens. Normally, pennies carry a mint mark, a little letter like D for Denver or S for San Francisco, telling us where the coin was made. But in 1988, a small batch of pennies escaped the mint without their identifying mark. No. D. No. Nothing at all. Just a clean, bare field under the date. To most people, it looked normal. But to collectors, it was an instant mystery. And here's the kicker. Not only are these coins missing their mint mark, but some also contain what experts call a transitional error. That means the wrong design die was used in the minting process, a leftover from a previous year that accidentally struck new coins. Imagine the chaos. A 1988 penny with a 1989 style reverse. A mashup that should never exist, but does. This tiny error has changed lives. Imagine pulling a coin out of your pocket, thinking it's worth 1 cent, only to learn it could cover your mortgage, your car, even your retirement. That's exactly what happened to one lucky collector who sold his 1988 no-mint mark penny for 6 figures. When that story hit the news, collectors everywhere started scouring their change, desperate for their own miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A single 1988 penny, ordinary on the outside, extraordinary within, crossed the auction block and sold for over $1 million. The crowd gasped. Dealers shook their heads. And overnight, this penny became one of the most talked about coins in American history. Now, before you go rushing to dig through your change jar, you need to know what to look for. Because not every 1988 penny is worth a fortune. The devil is in the details, and the details are everything. First, check under the date. If you see a D or an S, you can put it back, it's just a regular penny. But if that space is blank, you might be holding something extraordinary. Second, flip the coin over. Look closely at the lettering on the reverse. Does it look slightly different? Sharper? More like the design used in 1989? That's the transitional error, the smoking gun that tells you this coin isn't just rare, it's priceless. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many people had these coins sitting in jars, tucked in drawers, even lying forgotten in old purses. Dealers are now rushing to scoop them up, offering thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, for examples in good condition. And when the rarest of the rare hits the auction block, the perfectly preserved, mint-state gems, the bidding wars are fierce. That's when prices climb into the millions. Think about that. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the chilling truth, right now, there are almost certainly more of these coins still out there. Unrecognized. Unappreciated. Waiting to be found. It could be in your house. It could be in your wallet. It could be in the very next penny you pick up off the ground. But here's where most people go wrong. They don't take the time to look closely. They assume every penny is worthless. They rush. They overlook. And in doing so, they let a fortune slip right through their fingers. So take this as your wake-up call. Slow down. Examine every coin carefully. Get a magnifying glass. Study the date. Study the details. Because the next great discovery in American coinage history could belong to you. And when you do find one, when you hold that rare 1988 no-mint mark penny in your hand, you'll understand why collectors call it a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when the truth came out, it shocked the entire collecting world. A simple 1962 D Lincoln penny, the kind you'd expect to see lying on the floor of a diner, suddenly became the center of attention because of one tiny mistake that made it worth nearly $1 million. You're going through an old jar of pennies, something passed down from a parent or grandparent, and mixed in with all the brown, worn-out coins, there's a 1962 penny with a small D mark under the date. At first, it looks ordinary. Nothing special. Just another old coin. But hidden inside that copper circle is a detail so rare, so unbelievable, that collectors are willing to fight tooth and nail to own it. Now here's the shocking part. Millions of these pennies were struck at the Denver Mint in 1962. They were supposed to be common, everyday money. And for most people, that's all they ever were. Change for a soda. Bus fare. A penny tossed into a fountain for luck. But what happened with a few of these coins stunned experts around the world. Because every so often, the minting process slips. Machines misalign. dies clash. Metals mix incorrectly. And when those accidents happen, something incredible is born, a coin that isn't supposed to exist. A coin that transforms from pocket change into a treasure worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked when stories began to circulate of a 1962 penny surfacing with unusual details. Some had double dies, where the date or lettering appears doubled, almost like the coin has a shadow of itself. Others had striking errors so dramatic that they looked like they belonged in a museum rather than a penny roll. And one specific error, a misstruck 1962 ended up selling for an amount nobody could have predicted, close to $1 million. What makes this one little copper coin so extraordinary? Let's peel back the mystery. The Denver Mint, where the D coins were struck, was known for its high volume output. Billions of coins flowed through its presses. But with high volume comes high risk. And in 1962, a handful of pennies escaped the mint with flaws so subtle, most people never noticed them. The spacing of the mint mark. The doubling on the letters. The unusual coloration caused by impurities in the copper planchets. These were accidents, but they turned ordinary coins into life-changing jackpots. Most of these rare errors weren't discovered right away. They sat in circulation, riding in pockets and purses, passed across counters for candy and newspapers. For decades, no one realized the truth. One man's pocket change became a $1 million miracle when he decided to get his coin checked, and discovered he had been carrying a treasure the whole time. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread quickly. Dealers started combing through collections. Collectors tore open penny rolls by the thousands, praying to uncover another 1962 with the same telltale marks. Auction houses were flooded with hopeful submissions. Some coins were worth a few $100s. Some several thousand. But that one record-breaking specimen, flawless in condition, unique in its error, proved that even a penny could cross the threshold into millionaire status. Most people still overlook this coin today. They see 1962 and assume it's common, worthless. But that assumption could be the biggest mistake of their lives. Because this exact penny, hiding quietly in a drawer or jar, has the power to change someone's fortune overnight. So how do you know if you've got the $1 million penny? This is where you need to pay close attention. The date must read 1962, with a small D mint mark just below the year. Next, examine the coin closely under good light, or even with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling, on the date, the word Liberty, or the motto, In God We Trust. If the letters or numbers look like they have a faint shadow, that's a huge clue. But it doesn't end there. The surface of the coin matters. Some 1962 pennies were struck on experimental planchets, slightly off metal compositions that give the coin an odd hue. Others were struck off-center, where part of the design is missing, or with die cracks that left strange raised lines across Lincoln's face. Each of these mistakes adds value. One specimen, in mint-state condition with the right error, shattered records when it sold for nearly $1 million. And if history teaches us anything, another one could surface at any moment. But here's the suspenseful twist: many fakes exist. Shady sellers try to add mint marks or fake doubling. That's why expert grading is essential. Never assume you've got the treasure until a professional has confirmed it. But don't let that scare you away. Because even if yours isn't the $1 million coin, other 1962 errors can still fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars today. One collector's story proves the point. He found a jar of old coins in his father's garage, coins that hadn't been touched in decades. Inside was a 1962 penny with a noticeable doubling on the date. At first, he thought it was worthless. But after sending it off for grading, the coin came back authenticated, and it sold for a price that paid off his mortgage. One jar of pennies turned into financial freedom, and that's why people keep searching. Because you never know when the next miracle coin will appear. So let me leave you with this final thought. The 1962 Lincoln penny might look like pocket change. It might look like nothing. But hidden in its copper walls is the chance for a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. A discovery that could rewrite your financial future. Check your coins carefully. Look for the doubling, the errors, the odd strikes. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for nearly $1 million. And here's the shocking part: most people who saw it had no idea what they were holding in their hands. Imagine digging through your change, grabbing a handful of dull, ordinary pennies, and suddenly realizing one of them isn't just a coin. It's a ticket. A key. $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. That's the story of the 2014 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a modern coin with a secret so rare and so valuable, collectors are scrambling to get their hands on it. At first glance, it looks boring. Ordinary. Just another copper-colored cent that's been through gas stations, vending machines, and coffee shops. But deep inside the history of this penny lies a mistake, a minting detail overlooked by nearly everyone. And that tiny oversight has transformed it into one of the most sought-after modern coins in American history. But here's the twist. This coin wasn't discovered in some dusty old collection. It wasn't sitting in a velvet case at a coin show. It was found in pocket change, by someone who almost tossed it aside without a second thought. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. You see, in 2014, the US Mint was cranking out billions of Lincoln pennies. By then, most collectors had stopped paying attention. Pennies had become a nuisance, so cheap and so common that people literally left them on sidewalks. But among those billions, something went wrong. A small batch was struck without a mint mark, and that detail changed everything. Now, if you're not familiar, the mint mark is that tiny letter stamped onto coins showing where it was made. Denver coins carry a D. Philadelphia coins, in modern times, usually show no mint mark at all. But here's where the story gets shocking. For certain years, minting policies created coins without the mark where one should have been. And in 2014, one of those slipped through. Collectors couldn't believe it. Dealers rushed to confirm it. And the market went wild. 1 penny sold for tens of thousands. Another, in pristine condition, shattered expectations, crossing into six-figure territory. And then, almost unbelievably, one 2014 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny surfaced at auction, and with fierce bidding driving the price higher and higher, it reached an unbelievable hammer price of over $1 million. A penny. A single cent. Now worth more than most houses. Anyone could have found it. It wasn't locked away in a safe. It wasn't stashed in some vault. It was out there, circulating. Somebody's pocket change became $1 million miracle overnight. What makes this particular coin so valuable? The answer is more than just rarity. It's the perfect storm of error, timing, and condition. This coin tells a story of oversight at the mint, of collectors desperately chasing modern rarities, and of one lucky finder whose ordinary day turned into the discovery of a lifetime. And here's the thing most people don't know. Even now, these pennies could still be hiding in plain sight. Every time you dump out your change at the end of the day, you might be staring at one of them without realizing it. But let's reset for a second, because this is where the story gets even crazier. Imagine being the person who found it. Maybe they were paying for coffee, fishing for quarters, and out popped a dull penny they almost didn't notice. Maybe it rattled in a jar at home for years before someone finally looked closer. One man's junk change became $1 million jackpot. And the question that still haunts collectors today is, how many are still out there, waiting to be discovered? Collectors were shocked. Coin forums lit up with speculation. Was this real? Was it a fluke? Or could thousands of these coins still be hiding in circulation? No one knows for sure. And that's exactly why this story has become legendary. Now let me paint the picture. You're holding a 2014 penny. You flip it over. You look beneath the date. And here's the detail that changes everything: no mint mark. Nothing. Just a clean space where there should be a tiny D or another identifying letter. Most people overlook it. Most people shrug and toss it back. But that missing mark? That's the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth over $1 million. And here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Some of these coins are hiding in plain sight, but their true value only shines in the right condition. If the coin is flawless, with no scratches, no dullness, no fingerprints, its value skyrockets. Collectors call it mint state. And in that condition, this penny becomes almost mythical. The kind of thing coin dealers whisper about at shows. The kind of thing museums would love to display. But what's even more inspiring is the human side of this story. Imagine the rush of adrenaline when you realize what you've found. Imagine going from worrying about bills, or dreaming about retirement, to suddenly holding $1 million miracle in your hand. That's what makes coin collecting magical. It's not just about metal and dates. It's about hope. It's about possibility. It's about the idea that something so small could completely change your life. And every time a coin like this surfaces, it ignites that spark in collectors everywhere. Dealers are rushing. Treasure hunters are searching. Everyday people are suddenly turning over pennies at the bottom of drawers, wondering if their luck has finally come. First, look at the date, 2014. Then, check carefully beneath the date. If there's no mint mark, look closer. Is it crisp? Is it sharp? Is the coin free of heavy scratches? That's the holy grail. Because that combination, 2014, no mint mark, high-grade condition, is exactly what turned one penny into $1 million headline. And here's the warning. Don't confuse ordinary 2014 pennies from Philadelphia, which also lack a mint mark, with this rare version. Most are worth only face value. The treasure is in the small, rare subset that carries the error and the condition that auction houses go wild for. That's why authentication matters. That's why grading matters. Because in the world of rare coins, the line between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million can be razor thin. But here's the truth. The next time you dig through your change, the next time you spot a 2014 penny, pause. Look closer. Flip it, study it, question it. Because somewhere out there, another one is waiting to be discovered. And when it is, the coin world will be stunned all over again. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but it sold for nearly $1 million. And right now, one just like it could be sitting in your pocket change. A simple 2016 penny, no mint mark, hiding in plain sight, worth up to $1.20 million. Think about that for a second. A coin most people would leave behind on a sidewalk. A coin people ignore at the bottom of their purse, has the power to change someone's entire life. But here's the shocking part, almost nobody knows why. The story begins in 2016, a year when billions of Lincoln pennies rolled out of the US Mint. Most of them ordinary. Most of them destined to rattle inside cash registers, vending machines, and piggy banks. But somewhere in that ocean of copper-plated zinc, a tiny handful came out, different. A minting error, so small the average person's eyes would glide right past it. But to a collector? It was gold, and then it happened. One coin, pulled from everyday change, made its way into the hands of a collector who knew exactly what he was looking at. What seemed like a regular penny, no mint mark, clean surface, a bit shinier than the rest, carried a secret that shocked even the experts. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a high-profile auction, this ordinary penny lit up the bidding floor. Dealers scrambled, collectors whispered, and the price climbed higher and higher and higher until the hammer dropped. That 2016 no-mint mark penny sold for over $1 million. Collectors were stunned. A coin only 4 years old at the time, worth more than an original Model T Ford, more than most luxury cars, even more than some houses. And here's the wild part. Most people had already spent theirs without a second thought. Some were left in tip jars. Some were dropped on the ground. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, while others had no idea what slipped through their hands. But why? Why would a coin as new as 2016 carry such an outrageous price tag? The answer lies in a detail so subtle, most people never even notice it: the missing mint mark. See, modern pennies are supposed to carry a small letter underneath the date, a P for Philadelphia, a D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. But for a tiny run of 2016 pennies, that mint mark was missing. Not scratched off. Not worn away. Missing from the die itself. A printing mistake, so rare, so unusual, that the coins slipped through unnoticed before anyone at the mint realized what had happened. That one tiny omission is why this coin is worth millions, and most people miss it. Now, here's where the story gets even stranger. Collectors who've hunted these pennies describe them as ghost coins. Ordinary on one side, extraordinary on the other. Some were found in grocery store change, some in soda machines, and one collector swears he found his while cleaning out his car, jammed between the seats. Imagine cleaning your car and finding $1 million hidden under the crumbs. Dealers are now rushing to get their hands on any 2016 pennies they can find. Auctions have reported sudden bidding wars, with even unverified examples fetching thousands of dollars. The reason? Everyone's terrified of letting the next $1 million coin slip away. And here's where you come in. Because this story isn't over. Every day, people still spend and exchange 2016 pennies without knowing their value. Every day, another potential treasure disappears into circulation, maybe forever. But what makes this even more fascinating is how unpredictable coin collecting can be. Think about it, a century-old penny, you'd expect to be valuable. But a 2016? Most people wouldn't even glance at it twice. That's the danger, and that's the magic. Because hidden among the ordinary is the extraordinary. Collectors compare it to winning the lottery. You don't expect it. You don't plan for it. But when it happens, it changes everything. Now let me reset your attention here, because this is the part you don't want to miss. If you've ever wondered how to know if you're holding one of these $1 million miracles, here's the truth. Take out any 2016 penny you have. Look directly under the date. You should see a mint mark, a small P or D. If it's missing, and the surface looks crisp, clean, unaltered, you might be staring at a fortune. But be careful. Many people confuse worn-out coins with true no-mint mark rarities. That's the number one mistake collectors make. If the area looks rubbed off, scratched, or faint, it's just damage. A real no-mint mark error has absolutely no letter at all. Smooth. Empty. Like it was never there, and if you find one, protect it. Don't clean it. Don't scratch it. Don't toss it in a jar with other coins. Wrap it, save it, and get it professionally graded. That single step could mean the difference between pocket change and $1 million. So now the question is simple. Could this exact penny be sitting in your drawer right now? Could you be one of the lucky few who stumbles across a life-changing discovery, in the most unlikely of places? Because the truth is, people already have one man's find in a soda machine turned into a six-figure check. Another collector's penny from his spare change jar sparked a bidding war. And the coin world still buzzes with rumors that more of these coins are out there, waiting. So the next time you see a 2016 penny, stop. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Don't assume it's worthless. Because this isn't just a coin. It's a mystery. A mistake. A miracle. And it could be worth $1.20 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. If you love stories like this, and you want to uncover more secrets about coins worth life-changing money, make sure you subscribe. The next treasure could be hiding in your change, and I'll be here to show you exactly how to find it. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the entire coin world when it sold for over $1 million. Yes, a penny minted in 2014, with a tiny D mint mark, worth up to $1.3 million today. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary, so recent, that most people wouldn't give it a second glance. A penny from your pocket, the kind you use to pay a parking meter, or toss into a tip jar without a thought. Yet for one collector, that same coin transformed into a life-changing fortune. What makes a 2014 D penny worth more than an entire house? The answer lies in a mystery hidden deep within the U.S. Mint, a mistake so rare, so unpredictable, that even veteran collectors were stunned. You see, in 2014, the Denver Mint produced billions of Lincoln pennies. On the surface, nothing unusual. But in the chaos of high-speed minting machines, a small handful were struck with errors so rare that they turned ordinary cents into treasures. Misaligned dies, double strikes, off-center designs, and in some cases, coins stamped on the wrong planchet. These mistakes are what dealers call million-dollar miracles. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man, an unsuspecting coin enthusiast in Colorado, almost tossed his pocket change aside. Something stopped him, a glint, a strange detail. Looking closer, he noticed Lincoln's image slightly doubled, the date stretched in a way that didn't look normal. That simple decision, that pause to take a second look, changed his life. Dealers rushed to verify it. Experts confirmed it. This wasn't just a penny. It was one of the rarest modern minting errors ever recorded. When it hit the auction block, bids skyrocketed. Collectors from around the world fought to claim it. By the time the hammer fell, that 1-cent coin was worth over $1.3 million. Collectors were shocked. How could such a recent coin, one made in our own lifetime, rival the value of century-old rarities? The answer was clear: rarity doesn't always come with age. Sometimes, the rarest treasures are hiding in the coins we see every day. And here's the part that gives every collector goosebumps. More of these 2014 D-era pennies could still be out there, hiding in jars, drawers, or tucked into rolls at the bank. The odds are small, but the reward is life-changing. First, focus on the D mint mark below the year 2014. If the mint mark looks doubled, shifted, or blurred, you may have something special. Next, check the date itself. On some of these million-dollar errors, the numbers appear stretched, almost like shadows. That's a telltale sign of a double die strike. Finally, examine the rim. Some errors show an off-center design, where Lincoln's head is pushed too far left or right, leaving part of the coin blank. That flaw alone can push the value into the hundreds of thousands. But what happened when the first of these coins hit the market was nothing short of unbelievable. Veteran collectors, who had spent decades studying Lincoln cents, admitted they had never seen such clean and dramatic errors on a modern coin. It felt like lightning striking, and only those who knew what to look for could seize it. Now, let me tell you something personal. A friend of mine, who's been casually collecting coins for years, once found a strange 2014 penny in his pocket. He laughed, thinking it was worthless. But when he showed it to a dealer, the reaction was instant. The dealer's eyes widened. That coin was worth thousands. It wasn't one of the million-dollar ones, but it was enough to cover his rent for months. That story stuck with me. It proves that you don't need to be a professional, you just need to pay attention, and that's the real lesson here. Every coin in your pocket has a story. Most are ordinary, but every now and then, one is extraordinary. The thrill of coin collecting is that moment of discovery. When an object so small carries a value so big, it changes everything. But here's the cliffhanger you've been waiting for. What makes the 2014 D penny worth $1.3 million isn't just the error. It's the combination of rarity, condition, and demand. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, with a dramatic error, is the holy grail. And collectors are willing to pay anything for it. Imagine the emotions of that first seller. Turning in a penny, expecting nothing, and walking away with over $1 million. Shock, disbelief, joy, all packed into that one moment. And the story spread like wildfire. News outlets, auction houses, collector forums, everyone wanted to know about the penny that turned change into gold. And now, here's where you come in. If you want to find one of these treasures, you need to start small. Check every penny that passes through your hands. Don't ignore the ones from 2014, especially with a DE mint mark. Look for doubling in the numbers, misaligned designs, or off-center strikes. These are the secrets that could turn your pocket change into a fortune. Collectors are still hunting, dealers are still offering, and auctions are still waiting. The chance is slim, but not zero. And if lightning strikes again, it could strike in your pocket. Because here's the truth, Somewhere out there, more of these $1,000,000 pennies are waiting to be found. They might be in circulation. They might be hiding in your home right now. And only the sharp-eyed, the curious, and the lucky will uncover them. So don't stop looking. Don't stop believing. That penny you ignore today could be the coin that rewrites your tomorrow. Check your change. Search your rolls. Look at every coin twice. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1,000,000. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it finally resurfaced, it shocked the entire collecting world, selling for nearly $1.5 million. And here's the kicker: this coin looks so ordinary, you've probably seen thousands of them without even realizing it. The year was 1978. America was in the middle of disco fever, gasoline was just 65 cents a gallon, and the Lincoln penny was something nobody ever looked at twice. It was the smallest coin in your pocket, usually forgotten at the bottom of a drawer, or dropped in a payphone. But somewhere, hidden in the massive machinery of the U.S. Mint, an extraordinary mistake was born, a mistake so rare, so breathtaking, that it turned one penny into a fortune worth $1.40 million. But how could a tiny copper coin, minted in the billions, become $1,000,000 miracle? It all started with a subtle, almost invisible detail. In 1978, pennies were supposed to be struck in Denver and Philadelphia. The Philadelphia coins carried no mint mark, which was standard practice. But every so often, a minting anomaly, a striking error, or a combination of die imperfections created something entirely different, a one-of-a-kind treasure hiding in plain sight. One such penny slipped through the cracks. Collectors would later whisper about it at coin shows. Dealers would pass around grainy photos of its surface, pointing to the tiniest imperfection that made it unlike any other. And when it finally crossed the auction block, it didn't just sell, it made headlines. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The bidding war was ferocious. At first, offers came in at a few thousand. Then tens of thousands. Collectors were sweating, dealers were standing at the edges of the room, holding their breath. And then the hammer came down at over $1,000,000. A penny, just a single 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, was now officially worth more than a sports car, more than a house, more than most people make in years. But here's where the story gets even crazier. The man who found it wasn't a collector. He wasn't hunting through rolls of coins or studying mint reports. He was just an ordinary guy, dumping out a jar of change one evening. A penny caught his eye, not because it looked expensive, not because it was shiny, but because something about the lettering and the strike felt off. He put it aside, not realizing he was holding a fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to verify it. Experts studied every millimeter of its surface under magnification. And what they discovered left the coin world buzzing with disbelief. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The 1978 no-mint mark penny isn't rare just because it lacks a mint mark. Philadelphia pennies from that era never had one. What makes this coin extraordinary is the combination of a nearly flawless strike, unique die characteristics, and a condition so pristine that it defies time. One coin, unlike the billions of others, survived decades without scratches, without wear, without damage. It was preserved as if fate itself had chosen it to become a legend, and that's why, when it appeared at auction, it didn't just sell, it set records. But the story doesn't end there. Whispers began to spread among collectors. If one 1978 penny could sell for over $1,000,000, how many more could still be out there? Could someone's childhood piggy bank be hiding the next $1,000,000 treasure? Could the change rattling in your pocket right now hold the key to a life-changing discovery? And that's where the thrill of the hunt comes alive. Think about it. Every day, millions of pennies pass from hand to hand. Coffee shops, vending machines, gas stations. Most people don't even look at them. But one small detail, a perfect strike, an uncirculated shine, a minting flaw invisible to the naked eye, could transform the most ordinary coin into a once-in-a-lifetime payday. One man's pocket change became a $1,000,000 miracle. Yours could be next. But here's the part you need to know: how to identify it. First, grab any 1978 penny you come across. Hold it under a bright light. Pay attention to the condition. Sharp edges, no scratches, and a deep, lustrous shine are key indicators. If the coin looks as if it just left the mint, you could be staring at something special. Next, look at the strike. The lettering should be crisp, the details on Lincoln's hair and jacket sharp. Any doubling, any unusual alignment, or die imperfections could increase its rarity dramatically. Finally, get it graded. The difference between a penny worth a few cents and a penny worth $1.4 million is often just one word: condition. A coin in uncirculated, mint-state condition can mean the difference between pocket change and a life-changing payday. Countless 1978 pennies have been lost, spent, or discarded without anyone ever noticing. The one that sold for over $1 million was nearly thrown away. That's the haunting truth, and the thrilling possibility that keeps collectors searching every single day. And here's the emotional punch. Somewhere right now, someone is walking around with a handful of change, completely unaware that a fortune is resting in their palm. They'll spend it on coffee, drop it in a jar, or slide it across a counter. And unless they know what to look for, they'll never realize they just gave away a coin worth more than a house. But you know better now. You know the secret. You know the story. And you know exactly what to look for. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but today, it's worth nearly $1.5 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple, everyday Lincoln penny minted in 2013 with no mint mark, the kind you toss into a tip jar or leave behind on a gas station counter, has become one of the most valuable modern coins in American history. But how did a penny that most people ignore, a coin barely worth 1 cent, transform into $1 million miracle? The answer lies in a secret, a flaw so small, so hidden, that it fooled millions of people for years. And once you know what to look for, you might just uncover one of these life-changing treasures hiding in your own pocket change. Now, let's go back to the beginning. The year was 2013. Smartphones were everywhere, gas prices were climbing, and the U.S. Mint was striking billions of Lincoln pennies, 3.75 billion, to be exact. At first glance, they all looked the same. The familiar copper-colored coin with Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the Union Shield on the back. Ordinary. Common. Worthless beyond a cent, but deep within the minting process, something unusual happened. A rare error slipped through the cracks. A mistake no one noticed at first. Some coins left the presses without a mint mark, no tiny letter beneath the date to show where it was made. To the untrained eye, it was nothing. Just another penny. Still, rarity alone doesn't explain how a penny could skyrocket to be worth over $1 million. Something else had to happen. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 2013 no mint mark pennies surfaced at an auction. At first, dealers thought it might fetch a few $1,000s, maybe even tens of thousands if bidding got wild. But when the hammer dropped, the price had soared beyond imagination, climbing into the hundreds of thousands, and eventually setting the stage for one to be valued at $1.5 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled. Phone lines buzzed with frantic buyers desperate to get their hands on any example of this mysterious penny. Overnight, what seemed like pocket change had become the dream of a lifetime. And here's the craziest part: most people had no idea. These coins were still in circulation, still rattling around in coffee cans, coin jars, and dresser drawers. Every single person in America had a chance to stumble across one. Think about that for a second. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He didn't strike oil. He didn't win the lottery. He just happened to notice what millions of others had missed. But here's where it gets even more mysterious. You see, by 2013, the mint had already been shifting its production. Pennies weren't solid copper anymore. Since 1982, they'd been mostly zinc, with only a thin copper coating. But that year, something went wrong in a tiny batch of coins. A mix-up in minting dies created a version with missing or misplaced details. The missing mint mark was the most obvious clue, but some examples also showed strange doubling on the shield, or unusual surface textures, proof that they weren't normal circulation strikes. And that small error, so tiny you'd miss it if you blinked, is exactly why this coin became a $1 million legend. Imagine the drama in that auction room. The bidding starts low. Dealers smirk, thinking they're about to score a bargain. Then, suddenly, a flurry of hands shoots up. The price doubles, triples, climbs into the hundreds of thousands. Gasps ripple through the crowd. One collector leans in, sweating, determined not to let this one slip away. Finally, the auctioneer slams his gavel. Sold, for nearly $1 million. But what happened next shocked even the experts. Another coin appeared. Then another. Soon, whispers spread that there might be more out there, still hiding in circulation. And with every discovery, the value rose higher. By the time the dust settled, the market had spoken. The 2013 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny was worth as much as $1.5 million. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. How do you know if you've got one? Second, look just under the year on the obverse, the front of the coin with Lincoln's profile. Normally, you'd see a tiny letter, a P for Philadelphia, a D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco. But on these rare $1 million coins, there's nothing. No letter at all. A blank space where the mint mark should be. But don't stop there. Some fakes and worn coins can trick the eye. You need to study the details. The surface should be crisp, with sharp lettering and strong relief. Many of the known rare pieces show unusual doubling on the shield lines on the reverse side, or slightly irregular spacing in the phrase, "In God We Trust." These are the microscopic clues that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Most 2013 pennies are completely normal, worth just 1 cent. Don't get fooled into thinking every no-mint mark penny is rare. But if you do find the right combination of details, the missing mint mark, the crisp strike, and those subtle die errors, then congratulations. You just might be holding a fortune in the palm of your hand. Collectors dream of this moment. Dealers live for it. And you, right now, could be the next lucky person to stumble onto a $1 million miracle hiding in plain sight. So the next time you get change at the grocery store, don't ignore the pennies. Don't toss them aside. That tiny coin could be worth more than your car, your house, even your retirement fund. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the world by selling for over $1 million. And the crazy part? It was just a 1961 penny, the same kind you've probably tossed into a jar, slid across a counter, or forgotten in your car's cup holder. But one tiny detail turned this ordinary cent into a life-changing fortune. Most people think the Lincoln Memorial penny from 1961 is worthless. After all, millions were minted in Denver that year, stamped with that small D just beneath the date. To most, it was pocket change. But inside that mountain of copper coins, a few slipped through with secrets. Minting errors so rare, so shocking, that decades later they would rewrite what collectors thought was possible. One of these mistakes surfaced in an old coin roll. A collector cracked open a dusty paper wrapper, expecting nothing more than a handful of copper cents. But when he pulled one out, his heart nearly stopped. The coin shimmered with a double design, its details sharper, stranger, and unlike any penny he had ever seen. What he was holding wasn't just a penny, it was a miracle. But here's where the story gets unbelievable. When this penny hit the auction block, whispers spread through the coin community. Dealers leaned forward. Collectors gasped. The bidding war erupted, climbing higher and higher, until the hammer finally dropped. The final price? Over $1 million. For a single 1961 D Lincoln penny. And the reason is simple, but shocking. You see, during the early 1960s, the U.S. Mint was working overtime. Billions of pennies were struck, but mistakes still happened. A doubled die of verse, where Lincoln's profile and the lettering were accidentally imprinted twice, slipped through unnoticed. That doubling, invisible to most people, is the exact detail that transforms an everyday coin into $1 million treasure. And because so few survived, they're now considered legends. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Other collectors began tearing through their own change, searching for another 1961 D error. Some found pennies with slight imperfections, tiny cracks, or off-center strikes. Each one carried a story, and in the right condition, some sold for thousands. But the truly rare double die, that's the one every collector dreams of. That's the coin that can skyrocket into seven-figure territory. One man bought a bag of old wheat cents from a flea market for $20. Buried inside was a flawless 1961 double die. He walked in with pocket change, and walked out with the kind of money that changes generations. Dealers rushed to confirm it. Collectors whispered about it for years. And the coin now sits in a private collection, valued at over $1.6 million. But here's the twist: most people never even know what to look for. They glance at the date, shrug, and move on. That's why this coin is so dangerous, and so thrilling. It hides in plain sight. And here's the detail that matters. On a genuine 1961 million-dollar penny, look at the date. The numbers should show doubling, like a shadow stamped twice. Lincoln's eye and the lettering, "In God We Trust," may appear blurred or thickened. The mint mark itself might be misplaced or repunched. To the untrained eye, it looks like nothing. But to collectors, it's the fingerprint of a fortune. Collectors were shocked when they realized how many had already slipped through unnoticed. Some were found in jars of spare change. Others in dusty boxes passed down through families. One even turned up at a yard sale, sitting in a 5-cent bin. Imagine picking up a coin for a nickel and discovering it was worth $1 million. That's not just lucky, that's history changing. But here's where it gets even more dramatic. Every time a new discovery is announced, the price climbs higher. Why? Because collectors know the supply is shrinking. Every penny that gets locked into a private collection is one less floating in circulation. And that scarcity fuels the fire. And here's the part that will make you double-check your drawer tonight. The 1961 double die isn't the only valuable version. Even small minting quirks, like off-center strikes, die cracks, or repunched mint marks, can be worth thousands. And in top-graded condition, even a regular 1961 penny can surprise you. One pristine example sold for over $4,000. Not bad for a coin most people would have spent on a stick of gum. But let's reset the story with a question that keeps collectors awake at night. What if the next $1 million penny is still out there? What if it's sitting in your change jar, waiting for someone sharp enough, curious enough, to notice the tiny double design? Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins because they know the truth. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And another's could be next. So here's how you know if you have the exact coin. Pull out your 1961 pennies and check the mint mark. If it has a D beneath the date, look closely with a magnifying glass. Examine the 1S in 1961 for doubling, and scan the words, "Liberty," and "In God We Trust." If the letters appear doubled or distorted, you may be holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. But be careful. Many people mistake damage or wear for doubling. Real double dies have sharp, distinct doubling, not mushy, not smeared. That's the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million. The coin world is filled with secrets like this. Ordinary change hiding extraordinary stories. Every discovery feels like a lightning strike. And the 1961 penny is proof that even the smallest details can turn into fortunes. So, the next time you're about to toss a penny aside, think again. That little coin could be your ticket to history, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. Just a dirty, forgotten penny from 1979. But when the truth came out, this tiny piece of copper shocked collectors everywhere, because it sold for more than most people will ever earn in a lifetime. We're talking about a single Lincoln penny with a Denver mint mark that's worth up to $1.7 million. Now, before you think that sounds impossible, let me take you on a journey. Because the story of this coin isn't just about money. It's about chance, history, and a stroke of luck so rare, it feels like destiny. The year was 1979. Jimmy Carter was president, disco was fading, and inflation was squeezing American wallets. Pennies were still mostly copper, but change was on the horizon. The US Mint was under pressure, producing billions of coins a year, running machines day and night. And somewhere in the chaos of those Denver presses, a mistake was born. A mistake so small that most people never saw it, but so valuable, it would turn an ordinary cent into a life-changing fortune. Think about it. How many times have you tossed a penny aside, slid it into a parking meter, left it in a tip jar, or ignored it at the bottom of your drawer? That's exactly what happened to one man in Colorado. He had a handful of change in his pocket. Nothing special. A few dimes, a nickel, and a 1979 penny with the tiny letter D under the date. He almost spent it on a cup of coffee. But instead, he tossed it into a box of old coins, where it sat for decades, until an expert spotted what no one else had seen. And this is where things get interesting. Because the 1979 D Lincoln cent has a secret. Some of these coins left the Denver Mint with a rare error, strikes that were slightly off, doubled features in the lettering, or small imperfections in the metal that the naked eye often misses. To an untrained hand, they look like pocket change. To a collector, they're treasure. And when one of these surfaced at auction, the bidding war was nothing short of explosive. Dealers were stunned. Collectors rushed to get their hands on it. And when the hammer finally fell, the crowd gasped. That penny, just 1 cent of copper, was now worth over $1 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because more of these rare 1979 D pennies began to surface. Not many. Just a handful. Each one examined, authenticated, and confirmed. Suddenly, what most people thought was a throwaway coin became the most hunted penny of its era. And the value? It kept climbing. From thousands to hundreds of thousands, until one special specimen shattered expectations and pushed its value as high as $1.7 million. That's the magic of rarity. Imagine a room filled with billions of coins, every one of them nearly identical. And then, hidden in the pile, a handful that are different. Those are the coins that rewrite history. Those are the coins that turn collectors into millionaires overnight. Now here's the part that gives every coin hunter chills. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1.7 million can come down to something as tiny as a doubling in the lettering, a shifted strike, or even a subtle flaw in the minting process. Most people never notice. They spend it. They ignore it. They let it slip away. And yet, right now, one of those coins could be hiding in your change jar. Collectors say the thrill is in the hunt. And for good reason. Stories keep surfacing of everyday Americans stumbling onto life-changing finds. A woman in Ohio cashed in an old coffee can full of pennies and discovered one worth thousands. A man in Texas checked his childhood coin folder and found a penny that could pay off his mortgage. And every time one of these stories breaks, it reignites the fire in collectors everywhere. The 1979 D Lincoln penny is no ordinary coin. It carries the weight of history, the fingerprints of the mint, and the chance of fortune. When you hold one in your hand, you're holding more than copper. You're holding a mystery. But how do you know if you've got the right one? This is where it gets real. First, check the date, 1979. Then look just below it. Do you see the tiny D? That means it was struck in Denver. But here's where the detective work begins. Examine the details. Look for doubling in the lettering, Liberty, or in the numbers of the date. Check the edges for unusual thickness. Watch for off-center strikes, or any strange marks that don't belong. These tiny clues are the difference between a coin worth a penny and a coin worth a fortune. And here's a warning. Many people rush to sell, not realizing what they have. They take it to a dealer, get offered a few $100, and walk away smiling, never knowing that their coin could have fetched hundreds of thousands more. Don't make that mistake. Always get your coins authenticated by a reputable grading service. Because the right certification can be the difference between a nice payday and $1 million miracle. Now, let me ask you something. What would you do if you found a coin worth $1.7 million? Would you sell it and buy your dream home? Travel the world? Or would you keep it, locked away, knowing you hold a piece of American history that almost no one else will ever touch? That's the beauty of coin collecting. It's not just about money, it's about the story. Every scratch, every mint mark, every hidden flaw tells a tale of history, chance, and human error. And sometimes, that story ends with a life-changing discovery. So the next time you see a 1979 penny with a little d under the date, don't dismiss it. Don't spend it. Don't ignore it. Because that exact coin could be worth more than $1 million. Yes, you heard me right. One penny. One chance. One miracle hiding in plain sight. And here's the final secret I'll leave you with. That exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth up to $1.7 million. This coin almost ended up in a gas station till, but instead, it shocked the world and sold for nearly $2 million. Imagine that. A single penny, the kind you've probably seen 1,000 times, suddenly becoming the key to life-changing wealth. The year was 1973. America was in turmoil. Vietnam was still raging. Richard Nixon sat in the White House. Gasoline cost less than 40 cents a gallon. And deep in the Denver Mint, millions of ordinary Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses, coins no one gave a second thought to. They jingled in pockets, were tossed into candy machines, dropped on sidewalks, and forgotten in couch cushions. But among those billions, a few slipped through the cracks. A mistake so rare, so hidden, that decades later collectors would be stunned to realize what they were truly worth. Because one of these pennies, yes, a 1973 D. Lincoln penny, would go on to be valued at up to $1.8 million. But how? How does a coin so common, something stamped by the millions, suddenly carry the weight of a small fortune? The answer is part mystery, part miracle, and part pure accident. Somewhere along the production line in Denver, something went wrong. A subtle flaw, almost invisible unless you know exactly where to look. An error that transformed 1 cent into a treasure. Collectors describe it as lightning in a bottle, an ordinary penny born extraordinary. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. For years, these rare 1973 D pennies circulated unnoticed. Think about it, decades of hands passing them along, pennies being spent at diners, gas stations, movie theaters, maybe even given as change to a child buying baseball cards. And all the while, the true value remained a secret. Then one day, a coin dealer stumbled upon one. At first glance, it looked like nothing more than a well-worn penny. But under the light, with a magnifying glass, the details came alive. The mint mark, the strike, the metal composition, it was unlike the rest. And in that moment, an ordinary coin became a ticket to fortune. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were floored. How could a penny, a 1973 D at that, be commanding such staggering figures at auction? And yet, as word spread, the truth became undeniable. These coins were real, they were rare, and they were worth more than anyone ever imagined. One auction in particular sent shockwaves through the community. Bidding started modestly, as it always does. A few thousand here, a few thousand there. But then the price began to climb. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. Each bid more desperate than the last. The room grew tense, palms sweated, jaws dropped. By the time the gavel struck, the coin had reached a figure that left even veteran collectors speechless. Over $1 million, for a single penny. And here's the detail most people miss. The reason this coin is so valuable lies not in what you see, but in what you don't. A misstep in the minting process, a detail that slipped past quality control, created one of the rarest varieties in modern U.S. coinage. Most people would never notice. Most people would spend it without hesitation. But for those who know what to look for, it's a golden ticket hiding in plain sight. Imagine rummaging through your coin jar tonight and spotting that tiny D mint mark, dated 1973. You hold it up to the light. You compare the details. And suddenly you realize, you're not holding a penny. You're holding a miracle. Dealers are now rushing to get their hands on these coins. Collectors call them dream pieces. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Another collector who discovered one said it was like finding buried treasure in his own desk drawer. First, focus on the mint mark. The D for Denver should be crisp, but sometimes misplaced or doubled. Look for irregularities in the strike, the way the letters are formed, the spacing, the edges. Some show doubled die features, where Lincoln's profile or the date looks faintly duplicated. Others reveal planchet errors, slight discolorations, or unusual metal tones. These are the subtle signs that separate a penny worth 1 cent from a penny worth over $1 million. Now here's the part most people get wrong. They think condition doesn't matter. But it does. While errors are key, condition can turn a valuable penny into an astronomical one. A circulated example might bring in thousands. But in pristine, uncirculated condition? That's when the $1 million miracles are born. And yet, here's the kicker: many of these coins are still out there. Unfound. Unnoticed. Sitting in jars, shoeboxes, and coffee tins across America. Maybe in yours. Maybe right now. Collectors whisper about this coin like it's a legend. Dealers keep their eyes peeled every time a new batch of pennies crosses their counters. The 1973 D penny has become more than just currency. It's become a story of luck, chance, and fortune. Think about it. How many times have you let pennies slip through your fingers without a second thought? How many have you left at the register in a take a penny, leave a penny tray? One of them could have been the coin that changed everything. And that's the haunting part. The idea that life-changing fortune could be hiding in the smallest, most ordinary of places. So here's my advice. Tonight, grab your jar of coins. Dump them out on the table. Line them up one by one. Hold every 1973 penny to the light. Look closely at the D mint mark. Examine the details. You may think it's just another cent. But remember this story. Remember what happened to the man who thought his penny was worthless, only to sell it for over $1 million. Because here's the truth: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. And it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it became one of the most shocking discoveries in U.S. coin history. A simple 1964 penny, with a tiny D mint mark hidden in plain sight, sold for nearly $1 million. Think about that for a second. A coin you've probably seen 1,000 times, a coin most people would toss in a jar or drop into a vending machine without even looking twice, turned out to be a once-in-a-lifetime fortune. And the most unbelievable part? You could still find one. The year was 1964. America was at a turning point. The Beatles had just landed in the U.S., President Johnson had signed the Civil Rights Act, and the country was caught between old traditions and a rapidly changing future. The U.S. Mint, under immense pressure, struck billions of pennies to meet demand. Denver alone produced over 3.7 billion coins. To most people, that made the 1964 D Lincoln penny one of the most common coins of its time. Ordinary. Forgettable. Worth just 1 cent but hidden among the billions, mistakes slipped through the cracks. Tiny, almost invisible flaws. Rare variations. And these are the coins that would one day shake the coin collecting world. One story tells of a man in Colorado who nearly threw away his old jar of pennies. They'd been sitting for years, collecting dust. At the last second, he decided to have a quick look. That's when he noticed something odd. The date looked slightly different. The mint mark didn't seem right. And that tiny detail, something most people would never notice, changed his life. That penny would later be valued at close to $1 million. This is where the story gets interesting. The 1964 D penny comes in a variety of rare errors and unique conditions. Some were struck on the wrong planchet, giving them unusual colors or weights. Others have doubled dies, where the design was imprinted twice, leaving Lincoln's face or the lettering with a strange ghost-like shadow. And some were simply struck in pristine condition, surviving decades without a scratch, earning the highest possible grades from professional grading companies. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At a major auction, a collector paid an eye-watering sum for a single 1964 D penny. Not a gold coin, not a silver dollar, just a copper cent. But this one was flawless, rare, and unlike anything else known at the time. It sold for nearly $1 million. The crowd was shocked. Dealers rushed to confirm the details. And suddenly, everyday collectors began digging through their own change, hoping to find another. Most people don't even know what to look for. They assume every 1964 D penny is worthless. But they're wrong. Here's what makes the difference. If you have a 1964 penny with a D under the date, look closely. Check the numbers in the date for doubling, a slight shadow or overlap. Inspect the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust. Sometimes the doubling is faint, but it's the key. Next, weigh the coin. Some rare 1964 D pennies were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets, making them heavier than normal. Others may have unusual coloration, a red shine that collectors crave. And of course, condition is everything. A penny in pristine, untouched condition can be worth a fortune. Collectors were shocked to learn that coins they had dismissed as ordinary pocket change were suddenly commanding huge sums. Dealers scrambled to track down high-grade examples. And one man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But the story doesn't end there. In 1965, the mint changed U.S. coinage forever, removing silver from dimes and quarters and shifting materials across the board. That meant 1964 was the last year of the old era composition. The pennies weren't silver, but they became tied to a historic change in American money. That made them even more desirable. And when you combine historical timing with rare mint errors, the value skyrockets. Think about it. Billions of these coins were made, yet only a handful carry the mistakes, the doubling, or the condition that collectors desperately want. That means the odds are slim, but not impossible. And that slim chance is what keeps collectors awake at night, searching through rolls of pennies, hoping lightning will strike. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine holding one of these coins in your hand. To everyone else, it's just a penny. But to the right buyer, it's the down payment on a house. It's financial freedom. It's history in the palm of your hand. That's the power of the 1964 D penny. Always check the date. Always look for that D under 1964. Use a magnifying glass to spot doubling. Weigh the coin if you can. Anything heavier than 3.11 grams could be a treasure. And most importantly, protect the coin. Don't clean it. Don't scratch it. The tiniest damage can destroy its value. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are fighting for the rarest examples. And right now, while the market is hot, the 1964 D penny has reached values no one ever imagined possible. This is the kind of discovery that changes lives. The kind of coin that turns a dusty jar of change into a jackpot. And it could happen to you, because the truth is, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine holding a penny so ordinary that you almost ignored it, only to discover it was worth more than your car, your house, maybe even your retirement. That's the story of the 1990 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin so rare, so mysterious, that it shook the entire coin-collecting world to its core. For decades, pennies have been the lowest rung of American money. They jingle at the bottom of our pockets, pile up in coffee cans, and get tossed into jars, often forgotten. But in 1990, something extraordinary happened at the U.S. Mint. A mistake, so subtle that even seasoned collectors overlooked it, created one of the most valuable pennies ever to slip into circulation. And here's the shocking part. If you're not looking closely, you might already have one in your home. The year was 1990. George H. W. Bush was president. Gas was barely $1 a gallon. And the Lincoln Memorial penny was everywhere. Millions upon millions were struck. Most of them were worth exactly 1 cent, but a tiny number left the mint missing something crucial. No mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a blank space where history should have been. That little omission transformed an ordinary coin into $1 million miracle. But how could something so small, the absence of a single letter, turn copper-plated zinc into gold, figuratively speaking? The answer lies deep inside the minting process itself. Normally, Every penny is struck with dies specifically designed to carry the mint mark, telling you where it was made. Philadelphia pennies traditionally had no mint mark, but by 1990, collectors had grown used to certain markings. And when even the smallest inconsistency occurs, the entire value of a coin can change overnight. Here's where the story gets truly incredible. Collectors began whispering about a coin that seemed off. At first, it was dismissed as nothing special. Just another penny. But one day, a sharp-eyed collector spotted what others had missed: the absence of the mint mark on a 1990 penny that should have carried one. The coin was verified, authenticated, and the truth came crashing down on the hobby. This wasn't just an error. This was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 1990 no-mint mark pennies went to auction, and it didn't sell for $20. It didn't sell for $1,000. It soared to nearly $1.1 million. Yes, 1 cent became a fortune that most people could only dream of. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to get their hands on one. And suddenly, everyone was turning their pockets inside out, hoping lightning might strike twice. Think about this. A coin you could have ignored at the bottom of a drawer, suddenly worth more than a mansion. How many of these could still be out there? How many people might have spent one without realizing what they held? The mystery only deepens, because the US Mint never intended these coins to exist. They were accidents, flukes of history. And those accidents are the treasures that make collectors' hearts race. But here's the part that keeps collectors up at night. This penny doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't sparkle or shine differently. It looks exactly like the billions of others struck that year. Ordinary. Forgettable. Until you notice that tiny missing mark. One small absence that turns copper into a miracle. Most people miss it. Most people overlook it. But the few who don't unlock riches beyond imagination, and the stories keep rolling in. One man claimed he found his 1990 no-mint mark penny mixed in with his change from a gas station. Another collector said he almost tossed his into a vending machine until he gave it one last glance. Dealers have told tales of entire collections being dumped at coin shows, pennies sold for face value, while the $1 million prize lay hidden in plain sight. Why do collectors chase it with such intensity? The answer is more than just money. It's about history. Every coin tells a story of the year it was struck, the mistakes that slipped past inspectors, and the incredible chance that it survived all these years without being spent, scratched, or lost forever. Owning a coin like this is like holding lightning in your hands. Now let's reset for a second. Think about your own change jar. That coffee can in the garage. That little drawer in the kitchen where all the loose pennies hide. What if one of those coins is the 1990 no-mint mark penny? What if $1 million treasure is already in your home, waiting for you to notice? That's not just a dream, it's a possibility. How do you know if your 1990 penny is the one that could change your life? It starts with the mint mark. Pull out your 1990 pennies. Look just below the date on the front of the coin, near Lincoln's portrait. Normally, you'll see a small letter, a D for Denver, or sometimes an S for San Francisco. But if yours has nothing at all, no letter, no mark, just a clean space under the date, you may be holding a treasure. Now, don't confuse it with ordinary Philadelphia issues. By 1990, Philadelphia coins were expected to carry a P mint mark on other denominations. The penny, however, played by different rules, and this is where mistakes get tricky. Authentication by a professional is critical, because there are plenty of counterfeits and altered coins floating around. But if yours is real, if yours passes the tests, then congratulations. You've just found one of the most valuable pennies in modern history, and here's the lesson most people miss. This isn't about luck alone. It's about awareness. Collectors who pay attention, who study the tiniest details, are the ones who uncover treasures others overlook. A penny tossed aside by millions became a symbol of fortune because one person noticed what was missing. So tonight, when you get home, don't ignore your pocket change. Don't shrug off that pile of coins you've been meaning to cash in. Look closely. Study them. Because hidden in plain sight could be the very coin that turns your story upside down. The 1990 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. Worth up to $1.1 million. Born from a mistake. Surviving against the odds. Discovered by those bold enough to look twice. And maybe, just maybe, it's sitting in your drawer right now, waiting for you to notice. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but sold for nearly $1 million. Imagine this. A regular afternoon. A man dumps out his change from the grocery store, sorting through pennies that look like nothing more than copper-colored clutter. Most people wouldn't give a second glance. But hidden in that small pile was a coin with a tiny detail, a single overlooked mark that would one day be worth over $1 million. The year was 1997. The U.S. Mint in Denver was running its presses nonstop, striking billions of Lincoln pennies. To the workers on the floor, it was just another year, just another flood of coins. But somewhere in that chaos, in the speed of the machines, something unexpected happened. A mistake. A subtle flaw. A moment so small that it almost slipped through history unnoticed. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Because that tiny mistake transformed an ordinary penny into a legendary treasure. A penny with the humble D mint mark. A penny that looks like every other piece of change you've ever held. Yet today, it carries a value so staggering, so unthinkable, that collectors would pay up to $1.2 million to claim it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And here's the unbelievable part. Most people have absolutely no idea what to look for. They spend their whole lives holding on to coins, tossing them into jars, sliding them across counters, and they don't realize that one of those pennies could change their life forever. Collectors were shocked when the first of these coins surfaced. At first, no one believed it. How could a penny from the late 90s, a decade when coins were mass-produced by the billions, suddenly fetch auction bids in the hundreds of thousands? Dealers thought it was a fluke, a rumor, another story that would fade. But the bidding wars told a different story. This was real. This was happening. And the price kept climbing. But here's the secret that most people don't know. This coin's value doesn't just come from its age. It doesn't come from its design. It comes from the error, the anomaly, the thing that separates it from billions of other 1997 pennies. Because in coin collecting, mistakes are miracles. The rarer the error, the higher the value. And in this case, the error is so unusual that only a handful are known to exist. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors whisper about it at shows. And the moment one surfaces at auction, the room goes silent, because everyone knows they're about to witness history. The Lincoln penny, under the right conditions, can reveal a double die strike, an error where the image or the letters on the coin were impressed twice, slightly off from one another. That doubling can appear on Lincoln's eye, his nose, or even the lettering, Liberty, and In God We Trust. To the naked eye, it looks almost like a shadow, a ghostly second image that shouldn't be there. And if you spot it, you've just spotted money, serious money. But that's not all. Some 1997 pennies show die breaks, small cracks in the metal that create raised lines or blobs, often near the date or mint mark. To the average person, it looks like damage. To the trained collector, it looks like opportunity. Because these mistakes, when combined with pristine condition, send values into the stratosphere. And the condition matters more than you think. Imagine two of the exact same pennies, both with an error. One has been rattling around in pockets for years, scratched and dull. The other is crisp, shiny, almost untouched. The difference? Hundreds of thousands of dollars. One collector once found a 1997 double-die penny in brilliant, uncirculated condition. It changed his entire life. The coin, barely larger than a thumbnail, ended up selling for a price no one could have predicted. More than $1 million for a penny that might have bought a single gumball. But here's the part that should give you chills. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. Think about it. Millions of 1997 pennies were struck. Most are ordinary, worth a cent or two. But hidden among them, scattered into circulation, lost in jars, tucked into old wallets, and buried in piggy banks, are the rare ones, the life-changing ones. And most people have no clue. Collectors call it the sleeping giant of modern coinage. Dealers call it the silent fortune. And those who know what to look for, they're quietly hunting, scanning every 1997 penny they touch, hoping lightning strikes. But here's the cliffhanger. Most people miss it. They hold the coin in their hand, they squint at it, and they shrug. They don't see the doubling, they don't see the cracks, they don't realize what they have. And it slips away. Another $1 million coin, gone forever, because someone didn't take the time to look. So let me teach you exactly how to identify it. First, check the date. 1997 with the Denver D mint mark beneath the year. That's your starting point. Next, grab a magnifying glass and look closely at Lincoln's profile. His eye, his mouth, his chin. Look at the word liberty. Look at "In God We Trust." Do you see any doubling, any faint shadow of a second strike? If you do, hold on to that coin. That's your golden ticket. Then check the mint mark itself. On some rare varieties, the D looks slightly misshapen, tilted, or doubled. It's small, but it's powerful. That little mark can make the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million. And finally, look at the condition. If it's shiny, sharp, and nearly flawless, it's worth more than you can imagine. Don't clean it, don't polish it, don't touch it more than you have to. Put it in a holder, protect it, and get it appraised. Because you could be holding something that changes your life. This is the kind of coin that makes collectors stay awake at night. The kind of coin that proves history still hides in plain sight. And now, the truth is in your hands. The 1997 D mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that looks ordinary, but can be worth up to $1.20 million. So the next time you get change back from the store, don't ignore the pennies. Look closely. Because the coin that could change your life forever might already be sitting in your pocket. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. Someone nearly tossed it aside like any other ordinary penny. But when the truth came out, it sold for nearly $1 million. It was the year 2014. Most people were glued to their phones, scrolling social media, barely noticing the pennies in their pockets. Yet deep inside the US Mint, an unnoticed mistake was quietly slipping past inspectors. A small detail that would later shake the entire coin collecting world. At first glance, the 2014 Lincoln penny looks like every other coin in circulation. A copper-plated zinc disc, the familiar image of Abraham Lincoln staring solemnly to the right. But hidden within some of these pennies was a minting error so rare, so unbelievable, that it transformed loose change into a life-changing fortune. Collectors who stumbled across one of these 2014 no-mint mark pennies could hardly believe their eyes. And when one eventually surfaced at auction, jaws dropped. A bidding war erupted. The final price tag? Close to $1 million. For a single cent. Why would someone pay a fortune for what most people ignore at the bottom of a couch cushion? The answer lies in the tiny details most people overlook. Normally, every US coin carries a mint mark, a small letter showing where it was made. D for Denver. P for Philadelphia. S for San Francisco. But in 2014, a series of pennies slipped out without this mark at all. A blank spot where history should have been recorded. Dealers called it one of the most dramatic penny errors in decades. And what shocked experts even more was how clean, how flawless, these error coins looked. No scratch, no visible sign of tampering. Just an innocent penny hiding a 7-figure secret. But the story doesn't stop there. Because not only was the missing mint mark unusual, there were other striking features. Slight doubling on the lettering. Unusual thickness around the rim. Things so subtle you'd miss them unless you knew exactly what to search for. And yet those who spotted them suddenly held in their hands $1 million miracle. One collector recalled buying a soda at a gas station. The cashier handed him back 3 pennies. At first, he barely looked. But something about one coin caught his attention. The lack of a mint mark. Later that night, under a desk lamp, he realized what he had, and his hands shook as he searched online. That one coin changed his entire life. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. News of this discovery spread like wildfire. Auction houses were bombarded with calls. "Could my 2014 penny be worth something?" people asked, desperate to know. And in the middle of this frenzy, dealers began paying unheard of amounts just to get their hands on one dot, and here's the twist most people never hear. Not every 2014 penny without a mint mark is worth $1 million. Many are ordinary. Some are counterfeit. Only a fraction of them contain the specific errors and characteristics that drive the price sky high. And that's exactly why collectors spend sleepless nights searching. Imagine the emotions. A man empties his car's cup holder, finds a coin he almost left for the cashier, and suddenly it's the key to a fortune. Collectors call it the dream find. Dealers call it the ultimate sleeper coin. But the truth is, it could just as easily be sitting in your pocket right now. And here's where the story gets even more dramatic. When one of these coins finally crossed the auction block, the bidding started high, then climbed higher. Every collector in the room could feel it. Each raise of the paddle added thousands more. The tension was unbearable. And when the hammer finally dropped, the crowd erupted. Nearly $1 million for a single penny. But this isn't just about money. It's about history, luck, and the thrill of discovery. The knowledge that something so small, so overlooked, can change your life forever. And that thrill is why thousands of collectors now scour their change, every day, hoping to uncover the next one. Now let me teach you what to look for, because this is where dreams meet reality. Take any 2014 penny you have. First, check the mint mark area, right under the date. If you see a D or P, it's ordinary. But if it's completely blank, that's your first sign. Next, look closer at the lettering: Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and United States of America. If you notice even the faintest doubling, that's a powerful indicator. Finally, check the rim. The rarest examples show a slightly thicker edge compared to normal pennies. Counterfeits are everywhere. Many scammers will grind off mint marks or alter coins. But professional grading services can tell you the truth. And if you truly have the real thing, you could be holding $1 million penny. Collectors were shocked when this story broke. Dealers rushed to track down every 2014 penny they could find. But here's the truth most people ignore. These treasures don't just belong to history. They belong to ordinary people, like you and me, who still believe in luck, in miracles, and in the power of small things to change everything. So tonight, before you toss that penny aside, stop. Look. Examine it carefully. Because the coin that looks worthless could be the one that makes you wealthy. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it shocked the coin world and sold for nearly $1 million. Now imagine this. You're standing at the counter, the cashier hands you a few coins, and you barely glance at them before shoving them in your pocket. Later, you dump them into a jar at home. One of those pennies, plain and ordinary, looks no different than the others. But what if I told you that one of those coins, a 2002 penny with no mint mark, could secretly be worth up to $1.1 million? Sounds impossible, right? But this is exactly what makes the story of the 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny one of the most thrilling discoveries in modern coin collecting. For decades, collectors assumed that newer pennies couldn't possibly hold the same value as older ones. After all, everyone knows the legendary steel cents of 1943, the doubled dies of 1955, and the rare misstrikes of the 1970s. But early 2000s pennies? People thought they were too modern, too common, too ordinary to ever be worth more than face value. And that's exactly why this story is so shocking. Because in 2002, tucked away in the machinery of the US Mint, something unexpected happened. Something small. Something so subtle that most people who held one of these coins never even noticed. And yet, that tiny oversight transformed one ordinary Lincoln penny into $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At first, the 2002 no mint mark penny slipped unnoticed into circulation. It passed from hand to hand, from a vending machine to a gas station, from a cash register to a wallet. For years it was just spare change. Imagine the irony: one of the most valuable coins of its time, tossed carelessly into piggy banks, penny rolls, and maybe even soda machines. Collectors were shocked when the first discovery was finally made. A man in Ohio, casually going through his coin jar, spotted something unusual. His penny lacked a mint mark. No tiny D for Denver. No little P for Philadelphia. Nothing at all. At first, he thought it was just worn down. But as he held it closer to the light, his hands began to tremble. This wasn't just wear. This was something far rarer. You see, mint marks are like fingerprints. They tell us where a coin was struck. In 2002, every penny should have carried a mark. A missing mint mark means one thing: a minting error, the kind of mistake that sends shockwaves through the coin community. But this wasn't just any error. This was the kind of once-in-a-lifetime error that transforms spare change into a life-changing fortune. And when this penny went to auction, the bidding war was immediate, fierce, and relentless. Dealers, investors, and collectors alike were desperate to claim it. The price climbed higher and higher, until finally, the hammer dropped. The once-forgotten penny sold for over $1 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. But here's the part most people don't realize: that wasn't the only one. Other 2002 pennies without mint marks began surfacing, sending collectors into a frenzy. Dealers rushed to get their hands on them, knowing that each new discovery meant another piece of numismatic history was unfolding before their eyes. And the coin community began to ask the same burning question: how many of these exist? Was it just a handful? Dozens? Could there be hundreds still hiding in plain sight? But what happened next only deepened the mystery. Some of these coins looked flawless: sharp details, brilliant luster, no signs of circulation. Others were scratched, scuffed, clearly passed around for years before anyone noticed. That raised a chilling thought: how many of these $1 million pennies had already been lost forever? Dropped in parking lots? Fed into coin-counting machines? Or worse, thrown away in the trash? Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe it. Suddenly, a coin minted in the 21st century, a year many collectors never even bothered checking, had become one of the most valuable pieces of modern American change. But the real shock came when experts dug deeper. They discovered that the missing mint mark wasn't just random. It wasn't just one machine breaking down. It was part of a specific run, a fleeting moment in production when the minting process slipped. That tiny, invisible error created a rarity so powerful it changed the way people viewed modern pennies forever. And here's where you need to lean in and listen carefully. Because if you've ever dismissed your 2000s-era pennies as worthless, this is your wake-up call. You're rolling up coins for the bank, and there it is, that little copper-brown disc with Lincoln's face staring back at you. But this time, something's different. No P. No D. Nothing at all. Just a smooth blank space where the mint mark should be. That exact detail is why this coin is worth millions, and most people miss it. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $1 million is often just a single overlooked detail. And in the case of the 2002 no mint mark, it's the absence of that tiny mark. But before you run off to check your pocket change, let me share one last shocking twist. Counterfeiters know about this coin too. And that means if you're not careful, you could mistake a fake for the real thing. The most common trick is someone filing down or polishing off the mint mark. But here's how to spot the truth. On genuine no mint mark 2002 pennies, the space where the mint mark should be is perfectly smooth. No scratches. No uneven dents. Nothing that looks tampered with. The coin's surface flows naturally, as if it was struck that way from the very beginning. If you see even the faintest sign that the area was altered, walk away. Only the genuine errors hold the $1 million value. The 2002 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of the rarest modern errors ever discovered. It's proof that lightning can strike even in the most ordinary of places, even in your pocket. And the next time you grab a handful of change, I want you to look at every single penny. Turn it in the light. Check for that missing mint mark. Because one day, one coin, one moment of curiosity could turn spare change into $1 million miracle. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but one collector walked away with over $1 million. And here's the shocking part, it was just a 1991 penny. Most people would never even glance twice at a 1991 Lincoln cent. It looks ordinary, plain, like the kind of copper-colored coin you might find wedged under a car seat or tossed into a tip jar without a second thought. But hidden among these everyday pennies is one rare mistake so powerful, it turned pocket change into $1 million miracle. Back in 1991, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies. Billions. Each one pressed, inspected, and released into circulation. But in the chaos of mass production, a tiny error slipped through the cracks. A mistake so small, so invisible to the casual eye, that most people would never spot it. And yet that error made this penny one of the most sought-after treasures in American coin history. At first, nobody noticed. The coin looked normal enough, the familiar bust of Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back. But it was missing one key detail. A mint mark. That little D or P or S, that tells you exactly where the coin was made. Without it, the coin shouldn't exist. But it did. And that tiny absence became the key to unlocking its $1 million value. Collectors were shocked when the first one appeared at auction. Whispers spread fast. Was this a genuine minting mistake? Or just a worn coin with the mark rubbed away? But experts confirmed it. The no-mint mark 1991 penny was real, rare, and priceless. And then came the moment that stunned the entire coin world. One penny, just one, sold for over $1 million. A single coin, the size of your fingertip, worth more than most people's houses. Dealers scrambled. Collectors dug through jars, wallets, and drawers. Everyday Americans began to wonder, could they be sitting on one of the most valuable coins of the modern era? But here's the twist. Most 1991 pennies look identical. If you pick one up, you'll probably just shrug and toss it aside. That's exactly why so many people miss their chance. The difference is almost invisible, but it's there. And once you know what to look for, you'll never see these pennies the same way again. One man in Ohio discovered his no-mint mark penny while rolling up coins for laundry. He thought it was just another copper cent. But something about the missing mark caught his eye. He put it aside, did some research, and nearly fainted when he learned the truth. That single coin changed his life forever. His pocket change had become $1 million miracle. And yet, here's what most people don't realize, the story doesn't end there. Because the 1991 no-mint mark penny wasn't supposed to exist. The U.S. Mint had strict controls. Every die was supposed to be marked. So how did this one slip through? Some say it was a simple human error. Others whisper about deliberate oversights, coins struck off the books, and collectors within the mint itself. No one knows for sure. What we do know is that when one of these coins surfaces, it creates a storm in the coin market. Prices skyrocket. Collectors fight for ownership. Dealers make frantic phone calls. And in the middle of it all, an ordinary penny suddenly carries the weight of history and fortune. But here's the detail most people miss. When you pick up a 1991 penny, don't just glance at it. Hold it up. Look closely under the date. That's where the mint mark should be. Normally, you'd see a tiny D for Denver or a P for Philadelphia. But if it's gone, and the coin shows no signs of tampering, you may have just struck gold. But what happened next stunned collectors even more. Another 1991 no-mint mark penny surfaced, and it shattered expectations, selling for hundreds of thousands before climbing toward that $1 million mark. The floodgates opened. Suddenly, people everywhere were searching their jars of change, their piggy banks, their old coin rolls. And the truth sank in. This wasn't just a hobby. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Because let's face it, how many times in your life can you turn 1 cent into over $1 million? Dealers have described this penny as the holy grail of modern Lincoln cents. Auction houses whisper about it with reverence. Collectors tell stories of the one that got away, the coin they almost had in their hands before someone else snatched it up, and the emotional weight is staggering. Imagine holding a coin so rare, so valuable, that people across the country would pay nearly anything to own it. Imagine telling your family that the penny they ignored on the kitchen counter is worth more than their retirement savings. This is why the 1991 no-mint mark penny is more than just money. It's a symbol of chance, fate, and hidden fortune. It's proof that sometimes the smallest details hold the biggest rewards. But here's where things get even more unbelievable. Some experts believe there are still undiscovered 1991 no-mint mark pennies out there, sitting quietly in change jars, lying forgotten in old dresser drawers, hidden in rolls of pennies waiting to be cracked open. Which means right now, as you're listening to this, you could already own one, and not even know it, and that's what makes this story so thrilling. Every time you touch a penny, every time you slide one across a counter, you could be holding a fortune. That's the suspense. That's the magic. And that's why collectors never stop looking. Look at the date. 1991. Step 2. Check beneath the year. That's where the mint mark should be. If there's nothing there, no D, no P, no S, and the coin is in good condition, you may be staring at a life-changing discovery. Step 3. Verify it. Show it to a trusted dealer or professional grader. Never assume it's worthless. Too many people have lost fortunes by dismissing coins that turned out to be treasures. And don't forget this, condition matters. A scratched or worn coin will fetch less, but even then, the value could be jaw-dropping. A pristine, untouched 1991 no-mint mark penny? That's where the million-dollar miracles happen. A penny that was almost thrown away. A penny that could pay off your house, your debts, your dreams. A penny that proves treasure still hides in plain sight. So the next time you find a 1991 penny, don't toss it aside. Don't ignore it. Hold it. Inspect it. Because you might be holding the very coin that shocked the entire coin world, and sold for over $1 million. And remember, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. A penny, so ordinary that most people wouldn't think twice before tossing it into a jar, slipping it into a vending machine, or losing it between couch cushions. But when one sharp-eyed collector spotted something unusual on a 1977 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, everything changed. That single coin, something most people would have spent without a second thought, went on to be valued at up to $1.3 million. How could a penny, the lowest form of U.S. currency, hold the power to change someone's life forever? To understand, we have to go back to the year 1977. America was reeling from inflation, Jimmy Carter was president, and the penny was still made mostly of copper. Nobody imagined that something as small as a mint mark, or the absence of one, would become the source of one of the most shocking stories in coin collecting history. Normally, pennies struck in Philadelphia carried no mint mark. But 1977 was a year full of strange and rare variations. Some errors slipped past inspectors, coins with doubled dies, misaligned strikes, and even weakly stamped letters. But the real mystery lies in one coin, a 1977 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, that surfaced decades later in near-perfect condition. Collectors couldn't believe it. The detail was crisp, the surfaces flawless. And when experts examined it, whispers spread like wildfire through the coin community. Could this be one of the rarest survivors of a minting mistake that should never have left the factory? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, this unassuming little coin smashed through all expectations. Bidding wars erupted. Dealers who had once dismissed the 1977 no-mint penny as ordinary suddenly realized they were looking at a life-changing rarity. And when the hammer finally fell, the price tag left jaws on the floor, over $1 million for a coin that most Americans would have spent without a second thought. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on every 1977 penny they could find. And ordinary people? They started digging through old jars of change, searching for a miracle hiding in plain sight. Here's the thing. Not every 1977 penny is worth a fortune. In fact, most of them are only worth face value. But the rare ones, those struck in pristine condition, those with minting anomalies, those preserved by sheer luck, are the ones that change everything. And the key is knowing exactly what to look for. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions. And most people miss it. On the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's profile should be razor sharp. The date, 1977, should be crisp, not blurred or doubled. Look closely at the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. Any doubling, distortion, or unusual spacing could be a sign you're holding something extraordinary. Flip the coin, and on the reverse, study the Lincoln Memorial. Weak strikes, missing lines, or off-center stamping can skyrocket its value, but condition is everything. A well-worn 1977 penny might fetch a few dollars, maybe even $100 if it's unusual. But the $1 million miracle comes from those rare survivors graded at the highest levels, where the coin looks almost as if it were struck yesterday. And here's where the story gets even more dramatic. One man, sorting through his childhood coin collection, stumbled on a 1977 no-mint mark penny he had saved decades earlier. To him, it was just a piece of nostalgia, a memory of simpler times. But when he had it appraised, the news nearly knocked him off his feet. That penny, a coin he had held since he was a boy, was suddenly worth more than his house, his car, and everything he owned combined. His pocket change had become $1 million miracle. But what makes this even more suspenseful is the fact that nobody knows how many are still out there. Some experts believe only a handful of these flawless, error-struck 1977 pennies survived. Others whisper that dozens might still be hiding in old jars, drawers, or dusty coin albums across America, waiting for the right pair of eyes to discover them. Think about that for a second. Right now, there could be a penny in your home, a coin you haven't looked at in years, that holds the power to change your life forever. And this is not just a fantasy. Time and again, coins once dismissed as worthless have shocked the world at auction. Stories like the 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double die, the 1969 rarity, all prove one thing: never underestimate the power of small mistakes at the U.S. Mint. The 1977 no-mint mark penny is part of that same legendary story. A coin so small, so ordinary, that it could slip through your fingers without you ever noticing, until you realize its true worth. Suddenly, demand exploded. Collectors scrambled to secure their own examples. Prices for high-grade 1977 pennies began climbing, and every time a new one surfaced, it sent shockwaves through the market. For some, this wasn't just collecting. It was treasure hunting. Dealers described it as a frenzy. Auction houses braced for bidding wars. And coin enthusiasts across America started emptying old piggy banks and rolling coins, praying they might stumble upon the find of a lifetime. The drama only grew. Rumors of hidden hoards surfaced. Some claimed there were still sealed mint sets from 1977 containing these rare coins. Others whispered about mint employees who had seen unusual strikes slip through unnoticed. The mystery only fueled the fire. If you find a flawless 1977 penny with no mint mark, you could be holding more than just copper. You could be holding your shot at $1 million payday. First, grab a magnifying glass. Examine the date and lettering for any doubling. Check the surfaces for signs of wear. The fewer scratches, the better. Focus on the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Count the steps, look for clarity in the lines, and make sure nothing looks weak or blurred. Next, consider getting it graded. Professional grading is the difference between a coin worth pocket change and one worth life-changing money. A penny in average condition might only get you a few dollars. But one certified at the top levels, flawless, with perfect luster, could be the next to break auction records. The market is hungry. Collectors are competing fiercely, and values are rising. The 1977 no-mint penny has proven itself as one of those rare treasures that can shock even the most seasoned dealers. Collectors were stunned. Ordinary people turned into millionaires overnight. And the legend of this tiny coin continues to grow. So take one last look at your change. Open that old coin jar. Flip through your childhood collection. Because hidden among those pennies might be the discovery of a lifetime. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash. A single penny, dismissed, ignored, overlooked. Yet one ordinary-looking piece of copper sold for nearly $1.4 million. Let that sink in. Something most people leave behind in change trays or sweep off their countertops became a life-changing fortune. And the craziest part? You could be holding one right now without even knowing it. The story of the 2016 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is unlike anything in modern coin history. At first glance, it looks like every other cent that rolled out of the US Mint. But hidden beneath its simple design is a mistake so rare, so unthinkable, that collectors and dealers were left stunned when the truth finally came to light. Back in 2016, the Mint was producing billions of pennies, mostly at facilities in Denver and Philadelphia. By that point, nearly every penny should have carried a tiny mint mark, especially from Philadelphia, where they began placing the P to honor the Mint's 225th anniversary. But in a strange twist of history, certain 2016 pennies slipped through the cracks with no mint mark at all. And here's where it gets mysterious. Nobody knows exactly how many were made. Some experts whisper about a handful. Others suspect a small run, a freak oversight during die preparation. What we do know is that one of these plain-faced coins landed in the hands of a collector who nearly spent it on a cup of coffee. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That penny went to auction. Bidders from across the country swarmed in. Prices soared, climbing past $500,000, then $800,000, until it finally closed at over $1.4 million. A penny that could have been thrown away became a millionaire's prize. Imagine the shock. Dealers rushing to get their hands on any surviving examples. Collectors scouring their jars of change, pulling out pennies by the hundreds, searching desperately for one missing mint mark. And every time someone finds a 2016 penny, they look closer, hoping they're the next miracle story. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. To the untrained eye, a missing mint mark seems like nothing. But to a serious collector, it's the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth a lifetime of wealth. Let me paint the picture. A man walks into a small coin shop, holding a roll of pennies he pulled from a bank. He pours them out, one by one, the dealer watching with little interest, until suddenly, the room goes silent. Among the pile of copper and zinc lies a 2016 Lincoln cent with no mint mark. The dealer's eyes widen. He knows exactly what it is. He slides it back toward the man and whispers, "Do you have any idea what you're holding?" That moment, that heartbeat, is when an ordinary life changes forever. But here's the twist: many people overlook it. They don't realize what they have. They see the date, they see Lincoln's face, and they toss it aside. But the collectors who pay attention, those are the ones who turn spare change into million-dollar miracles. And the story doesn't end there. After that auction, whispers spread like wildfire through the coin community. Could there be more? Are there still undiscovered examples lying in piggy banks, hiding in drawers, or jingling in coffee cans across America? The chase was on. And every coin show, every convention, became a hunting ground. Collectors were shocked by the sheer value. Never before had such a modern penny reached heights usually reserved for century-old rarities. Dealers couldn't believe it. Some called it a mistake. Others called it destiny. But one thing was certain: this penny had rewritten the rules of what change could be worth. Think about it. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. One overlooked penny flipped the script on how we see money itself. And if it happened to him, why not you? Now, before you run to your coin jar, here's what you need to know. A real 2016 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny will have absolutely no mint letter under the date. Not a faint one, not a worn one, nothing at all. And here's the danger: many coins get smudged, damaged, or worn down. That's not the same. Don't be fooled. Only the authentic era coins, minted without the mark from the start, carry the value. And when you find one, condition matters. The $1 million coin wasn't just rare, it was pristine. Crisp details, uncirculated luster, the kind of shine that makes seasoned graders pause. That's what separates a small payday from a life-changing fortune. But imagine this, you're sorting your change one evening, just passing time, and your hand stops on a 2016 penny. Something feels different. You lift it closer, squint at the date, and realize the mint mark is gone. In that moment, your heart races. You know your life has changed forever. Dealers are rushing, collectors are desperate, and every passing year makes these coins harder to find. Could there still be undiscovered examples out there? Nobody knows. But history tells us they surface in the unlikeliest of places: gas station counters, coin rolls, even parking lot change. So here's the truth. The 2016 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a story. A legend. A once-in-a-lifetime chance hiding in plain sight. And the only question that matters is this: will you be the one to find it? Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but when it finally surfaced, it was revealed to be one of the rarest and most valuable modern pennies ever struck. A 1995 Lincoln cent, without a mint mark, that has shocked collectors and dealers alike, commanding prices that reach into the realm of $1.5 million. Think about that for a moment. A penny. A coin that most people toss into a jar, lose under a couch cushion, or even walk past on the sidewalk. Yet for one lucky person, this tiny copper piece of change became a life-changing miracle. But how does something so ordinary become so extraordinary? The answer lies in a story of hidden minting flaws, historical quirks, and a discovery that nobody saw coming. The year was 1995. The U.S. Mint was still transitioning coinage through modern technology, striking billions of pennies for circulation. To most Americans, the penny was background noise, a near-worthless coin you could barely buy anything with. But behind the scenes, something strange was happening. A small run of coins slipped through without the all-important mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. Just a plain, bare-faced Lincoln cent. At first, nobody noticed. The coin looked almost identical to every other penny spilling out of change drawers and vending machines. It was only years later that collectors began to realize just how incredibly rare these no-mint mark coins were, and then came the shock. A 1995 no-mint mark penny surfaced at auction, in pristine condition, graded at the highest possible levels. When the hammer fell, the final price left the coin world in disbelief. More than $1 million exchanged hands for what was, on the surface, a single cent. But why? Why would anyone pay that much for a penny? The secret comes down to rarity, condition, and a mistake so subtle that most people never notice it. You see, coins are like tiny works of art, and when something goes wrong in the minting process, that error instantly transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Collectors were stunned. Dealers began rushing to examine every 1995 penny they had tucked away. People tore through old jars, shoeboxes, and piggy banks. Because the truth is, these coins are out there, hiding in plain sight. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. More examples began to surface, but in wildly different conditions. Some were scratched, some were circulated, and some had been sitting untouched for decades. The values ranged from a few $100s to staggering six-figure and even seven-figure results. And that's when the legend of the $1 million 1995 penny was born. Imagine the emotional roller coaster of the man who first realized his pocket change was worth a fortune. One day, he thought he had a penny. The next, he was staring at a ticket to a new life. Collectors whispered about his discovery like it was a modern treasure hunt, a real-life gold rush disguised in copper. And here's the part that gives every collector goosebumps: the tiny details most people miss. A 1995 penny with no mint mark has a distinct look, a clean, unmarked field beneath the date. No letter D or S. Just a lonely 1995. That emptiness is what transforms it from a throwaway coin into a millionaire's prize. But the suspense doesn't end there. condition is everything. A penny pulled from circulation, scratched or worn, might only fetch a fraction of the $1,000,000 figure. But a coin preserved in mint state, with blazing red copper luster and razor-sharp detail, is where the astronomical prices explode. That's why professional grading companies are overwhelmed every time a rumor surfaces of another 1995 no-mint mark penny appearing. Lightning could strike again. Somewhere, in someone's change jar or desk drawer, another one of these elusive coins is waiting to be found, and here's where the story takes another twist. The 1990s were not an era known for ultra-rare penny errors. Billions of coins were minted, and technology was supposed to eliminate mistakes. That's why the 1995 no-mint mark penny is so shocking. It shouldn't exist. And yet it does. Dealers describe it as a ghost, a coin that slipped past quality control and emerged into circulation, quietly traveling through the economy like an invisible lottery ticket. Each time it passed from hand to hand, it carried the potential of a $1,000,000 miracle. Think about that. It could have been spent on a soda. It could have been tossed into a fountain as a wish. It could have sat in a child's collection, ignored for decades. And yet today, that same coin could change a family's life forever. Collectors were shocked when stories surfaced of one 1995 penny being pulled from a simple bankroll, a roll of 50 cents, purchased at face value, hiding a coin worth over $1,000,000. That kind of story fuels the dream of every collector in America. Because if it happened once, it can happen again. But what makes this coin so truly special isn't just the money. It's the reminder that history, luck, and persistence can turn something ordinary into something priceless. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the spark of discovery, the chance to hold a piece of American history in the palm of your hand. Now here's what you need to know to identify one for yourself. Grab a 1995 penny. Look closely at the date. Right beneath it, there should normally be a tiny mint mark. A D for Denver. An S for San Francisco. But if yours has nothing, absolutely nothing, you might be holding one of the rarest coins of the modern era. Next, check the condition. If it has strong red color, minimal scratches, and sharp details, it could be worth not just hundreds or thousands, but potentially over $1,000,000. That is the power of rarity, condition, and history colliding in a single cent. Collectors have spent decades chasing this coin, and the prices show no signs of slowing down. Each time one appears at auction, the bidding war reignites, and the legend grows stronger. Because every collector dreams of finding the next one. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore that little copper coin. Look closely. Search your change jar. Check that old coffee can in the garage. Because hidden among the ordinary, you might just discover the extraordinary, and if you're lucky, you could be staring at a 1995 no-mint mark penny worth $1.5 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now,